Last week in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the lives of college football players around the world were shaped and changed forever as their name was called, as they are now moving from college to the NFL. This is the 2017 recap special as part of Strictly Sports. Hello, friends, and welcome to our 2017 NFL Draft Recap Edition of Strictly Sports. Delighted to be here, as always, one of our biggest shows of the year. Anthony Florio here with Girl MF Michael Fletcher and the Phenom Michael Bullock. Without any further ado, let's jump right into the action here. The NFL Draft came and went in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And a lot went down, and of course, it was from the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and it was the first time since 1961, and it was the most attended draft in history. 250,000 people in the house, unreal. So, without any further ado, of course, you know how we do it here. For those of you who may not have seen this in the past, we go by team. We give you our team by team picks, and we give a grade on it and a brief synopsis. So let's not take too much time on these guys. Maybe with the exception of our teams, maybe. So we don't have a long show, because these shows do tend to run very long. So we don't want it to run too long. So with that being said, let's get to it. First team on the board, it is the Arizona Cardinals. And these were their selections. Haason Reddick, linebacker out of Temple. Budda Baker, safety out of Washington. Chad Williams, wide receiver, Grambling State. Dorian Johnson, offensive guard, Pittsburgh. Will Holden, offensive tackle, Vanderbilt. TJ Logan, running back, North Carolina. And Jonathan Ford, safety from Auburn. And they were that 179th pick. TJ Logan was the compensatory selection. So instead, what do we think here? In the first round, there was a run on quarterbacks, and even though the Cardinals needed one, they stood at number 13 and took linebacker Haason Reddick, movable part for a defense that has positional ambiguity. They then ignored the quarterback in the second round, trading up for safety Budda Baker. He's a good Tony Jefferson replacement. The Cardinals gave up a fair amount to get Baker, but recouped the picks later by trading back in the third round. There, they took Grambling State wide receiver Chad Williams, going ahead of receivers like Amara Darboh and Yehu Chesson of Michigan. The other pick they got in the third round trade turned into guard Dorian Johnson. He's one of the more pro-ready players in the draft and could push for playing time as a rookie. Fifth round pick Will Holden adds nice depth on the offensive line. So with that, my grade for the Arizona Cardinals is a solid B. So nothing left for me to say on that. So MF, come on in. Your thoughts, your brief thought, and what grade do you give the Arizona Cardinals for their 2017 draft? Did I get it right? Did I get it too wrong? What?
No, I actually think a B is fine. The needs that they really needed to get was cornerback and quarterback, but they got the safety, they got the offensive guard, and they got the wide receiver, which was needs that they really needed to cover. I really like the Budda Baker selection, especially in the second round. I think they solidified themselves, and on top of that, just to give you a little bit of with a little bit of something here, with safeties, Tony Jefferson, DC Schwarzenberg gone from free agency, and with Antoine Benet being 33 this July, the Cardinals needed a young playmaker at the position. Arizona now has added two of the most versatile defenders in its class with the first two picks, which was Roderick Harrison Reddick, which was the inside linebacker, and then Buda Baker. So I think that was very good for them. You know, I really like what he brings to the table because I got to see a lot of him, especially during Washington's run all the way up to the college football playoff. So I mean, at the end of the day, I love the pick. I love Chad Williams, a young wide receiver from Grambling, basically one of those guys that was lying under the radar. I think he'll do good. And I totally agree. Dorian Johnson looks like a starter, man. He might be able to start on day one. Totally agree with everything you said, Anthony. A solid B for me as well. I really wish they would have gotten a quarterback here if I was Arizona, and I would have tried to address the cornerback position as well because I think they're really thin on corner. But all in all, good performance, not bad. So, Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you, my friend.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I think this is this is a B as far as I'm excuse me, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they basically, like some of the picks they made. I mean, basically, Hassan Reddick. He's an inside linebacker with the edge rush skill, so he could be a huge boost to that defense. Buda Baker. He's a safety that basically can attack with blitz pressure from all angles. Chad Williams. He's an all swag pass catcher that has a combination of size, speed, and ball skills that could make him a solid number 2 receiver in the Cardinal scheme. So, yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. It's a B for me. So, Florio, let's move on to our next team.
And that next team is the Atlanta Falcons, or I should say your reigning and defending NFC champion Atlanta Falcons, and in the eyes of many, including Falcon fans, should have been Super Bowl champion Atlanta Falcons. But nonetheless, here's how they did in the draft. These selections are as follows. Takaris McKinley, defensive end out of UCLA. Duke Riley, linebacker, LSU. Sean Harlow, a guard out of Oregon State. DeMonte Casey, safety out of San Diego State. Brian Hill, running back from Wyoming. And Eric Saubert, a tight end out of Drake. So that's the list. So MF, we get it. We get it going with you here. What grade do you have for the defending NFC champs?
All right. I'm going to be very generous with this grade. I really wish they could have filled a little more of their needs here. I kind of felt like they kind of left a little bit out there. They should have gone for an offensive guard, a wide receiver, and a linebacker. Unfortunately, they did not fill those needs in this draft, but they did revamp defensively. And let's be realistic, guys. What was the biggest liability that Atlanta had? It was the defense, especially interior defense in the linebacking core. And I really think that especially in their DBs, their corners, that was really, especially when it was against the pass, they really struggled against them. What did they do? by going out and getting an explosive defensive guy with Terrence McKinney. And I love this story. This is one of those guys I was so happy for. And out of all the drafts, we're going to talk about some noggin divas, but this is one of those feel-good stories of this draft. For McKinney, the guy, his father and his mother were absentee parents. They left him for his grandmother to raise him, in a really rough neighborhood in California, down in the Oakland area, down near Compton, which is very dangerous, especially for African Americans. What he does next is he turns around and he actually says, when his grandmother's getting ready to pass away, he's like, I'm going to make a D1 school and I'm going to make it to the NFL because of you, because you were there for me, you fought for me, and you gave me all that love, you instilled me to be a man. And what does he do? He goes to UCLA, a very prominent Pac-12 school, and became one of their best players over there. And then on top of that, he now makes it to the NFL, and you heard the speech that he made for the NFL Network. Yes, he might have dropped an F-bomb, but who cares? The guy was in the moment, and you know what? Props to the NFL for not finding this guy for the F-bomb, and their reasoning was, hey, he hasn't signed with the NFL yet, and we get it that he was very emotional, and it was a great moment. We're not going to punish him for that. Good NFL. Good for you guys. I love that pick. That was a definite pick. To get Duke Riley is a good player as well. Like I said, I really wish they would have addressed a wide receiver, get a little backup just in case for Julio Jones. And, because I think their wide receiving core needs to get a little help. But I love the fact that they got Brian Hill as well. For me, I'm going to go B- to a C. I thought it was good. I wasn't really blown away with all their picks. So B- for me. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give them a B- as well. I mean, I do like the picks. I mean, Takaris McKinley with. I mean, what a story. I mean, you basically talked about it, and yeah, and he adds to their what is a very improving defense. I mean, he's a fastball pitcher off the edge with an explosive first step and a non-stop motor, and he will team with Vic Beasley to give the Dirty Birds a dangerous 1-2 pass rushing punch. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. And Duke Riley, I mean, he's an explosive sideline-to-sideline defender with outstanding special team skills, and he could be a Pro Bowl caliber special teamer early in his career. Kazi is a ball hawk with superb instincts, and he could shine in the team's single high safety scheme. Brian Hill, he gives Atlanta a big-bodied runner to throw into the rotation. So basically, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more to say. But I mean, I do agree. I mean, they could have used an upgrade at the receiver position. I mean, yeah, you do have Julio Jones, but you could have gotten like another receiver. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. So yeah, so it's a B- for me. So Florio, it is yours.
I'm going to make it unanimous, B- as well. I can't believe we actually agree on something on this. Usually there's some controversy on this, but don't worry, there's plenty of time. The Falcons jumped up in the first round to take pass rusher Takaris McKinley, filling one of the team's bigger needs at pass rusher. He gives them another edge player to get after the quarterback, and he should line up at end and linebacker. And he keeps some attention away from Vic Beasley. The Falcons followed that up by dropping out of the second round and getting 2 extra picks in the 5th round. In the third, they selected linebacker Duke Riley, a 3-down linebacker who can move around with ease. And Atlanta finally got an interior blocker in the 4th round with John Harlow of Oregon State. I thought they should have targeted a guard earlier in the draft. Getting San Diego State cornerback DeMonte Casey in the 5th round was my favorite pick by Atlanta. He's not going to be a number 1 cornerback, but he doesn't need to be in Atlanta. He's got excellent instincts and should be really good working the slot. So I agree 100%. It's a B- for me. So with that being said, let's move on to our next team. It is the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens. And these are their picks as follows. Marlon Humphrey, cornerback, Alabama. Tyus Bowser, outside linebacker, Houston. Chris Wormley, defensive tackle, Michigan, for you Michigan boys. Tim Williams, defensive end, Alabama. Nico Saragusa, guard out of San Diego State. Jermaine Elamuner, offensive lineman, Texas A&M. And Chuck Clark, a safety out of Virginia Tech. The Ravens traded their 3rd-round selection, number 99, and defensive tackle Timmy Jernigan to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for the Eagles' 3rd-round selection at number 74. That was Wormley. The Ravens traded their 6th-round selection, number 198, and center Jeremy Zuta to the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for the 49ers' 6th-round selection, number 186. That was Chuck Clark. And the Ravens traded their 7th-round selection, number 234, to the Los Angeles Rams during the 2015 season in exchange for wide receiver Chris Givens. So now that I got all those schematics out of the way, Michael Bullock, let's start it off with you. Your grade for the Baltimore Ravens.
All right. Well, for the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, what's it all about for them? It's about defense. So yeah, they get Marlon Humphrey. I mean, and from Alabama. I mean, basically, obviously, of course, and also, I mean, well, he got 2 guys from Alabama, Marlon Humphrey and Tim Williams, and I think it could be a huge boost to the defense. So yeah, I mean, they also had Tyrus Bowser, and of course in round 3 getting Chris Wormley. The only offensive guy they got was at the guard position with Jermaine Elamuner, but to me, I'll be quite honest. I mean, I think they could have maybe needed a wide receiver because that's something I think they could have addressed. I mean, yeah, you do have Mike Wallace, but I mean, that's the only good receiver you have. I mean, yeah, you got some other ones on your roster, but I really think that could have been addressed a little more. And maybe draft a running back as well. I'm surprised they didn't address that. So basically, I'm gonna give them another B- here. So Florio, it is yours.
As the old saying goes, Michael Bullock, great minds think alike. I agree with that as well. It is another B-. Absolutely. The Ravens went defense, and then they went beef. The first 4 picks by Baltimore were on defense, starting with cornerback Marlon Humphrey at number 16 overall. The Ravens needed to get better in the secondary and didn't have to move up to get the draft's second-best corner. He has impressive tools and could develop into a shutdown player on the outside. The Ravens needed an edge rusher and picked 2 in the ultra-athletic Tyus Bowser in the 2nd round and blitz specialist Tim Williams in the 3rd. I had Williams rated as one of the 30 best players in the draft. He's limited in what he can do, but his ability to get after the passer is incredible. Bowser has good developmental potential and has a better all-around game. Between them, the Ravens picked Michigan defensive lineman Chris Wormley, who was a good system fit. The Ravens needed to improve their pass rush and got players who can do it. On the third day of the draft, Baltimore picked 2 guards in Nico Saragusa and Jermaine Illuminor. They should push for the left guard job. I thought the Ravens needed to get a wide receiver in this draft, and they passed on the position. I agree with that 100%, Bullock. You're absolutely spot on there. So my overall grade for the Baltimore Ravens is a B-. So MF, your grade for the Baltimore Ravens, and I know for a fact you told me that Alex Zapata, this is his team.
Yep.
Was Alex happy with any of the picks?
He was very happy to see a lot of defense. That was the one thing that he was really blasting about, especially last season. He got really angry about how his defense came out. He loved the offense, but hated the defense. He thought it wasn't that vaulted defense that he has known and got accustomed to, that defense that has won him a couple of Super Bowls in their years. And he was really wondering, like, what was this? What was this garbage that he was seeing on the field? I'm telling you guys, he was very angry. But once he found out about what type of defense they were bringing to the table, especially Terrence Bowser, because some of them are actually comparing him to a Ray Lewis, and he is absolutely thrilled about that. He hopes that this guy is what they say that he is, as an outside linebacker. You know what? And I'll say it, they needed an upgrade at their edge rusher, and this is the kid who's moved up on a lot of boards in the recent months. This was a good, solid pick for Baltimore. On top of that, Bowser is not as polished, but on first down, he can play on the line of scrimmage. In sub packages, he could play as a joker. Okay, now let me give you the little football 101 in me. Now, this is what I love doing this show. When I mean the Joker is really basically a guy, he's going to spy on you. He's going to watch the quarterback. If he can see if he can read the quarterback, and if there's some kind of play there that maybe he might notice that, he might be audibling or something like that, he's the quarterback on the defense. He can say, hey, yo, fellas, watch out. Either fall back or rush. Get ready to blitz this guy. He's a really good chess piece. His best football is actually ahead of him. Good young pickup for them. I like you guys said, I wish they would have gone a little more. I think they really should have gone with a wide receiver. They are kind of little thin on wideouts, unless they're gonna think about getting them during free agency, or maybe after after everything happens in preseason. There's always a couple of guys out there before the season starts. Maybe they'll pick them up at that point. But I'm gonna go with you guys. It's a B- as well. I thought their first 4 picks were solid Bs. The Saragusa and Amilmore, I gave A ratings for, but then they really screwed the pooch when they got Chuck Clark, the free safety from Virginia Tech. Jack of all trades, master of none, safety protection with good football smarts and athleticism, but I'm sorry, I think they could have gone with a better player there. I thought that was like a C-level player. So all in all, when you average it out, it's about another B-. So I agree with you guys. And it's on to oh no, it's Buffalo.
Yes, Lord. It is the Buffalo Bills. It is my team. And, to say they were busy during the NFL draft is a complete understatement. So let's run it down. Tre'Davious White, cornerback out of LSU, who they acquired in a trade from the Kansas City Chiefs. Zay Jones, wide receiver, East Carolina, acquired in a trade from the Los Angeles Rams. Deion Dawkins, guard out of Temple, acquired in a trade from the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Milano, linebacker, Boston College. Nathan Peterman, quarterback out of Pittsburgh, a compensatory pick from the New England Patriots. And Tanner Vallejo, linebacker out of Boise State, a pick from the Dallas Cowboys. So I thought, how do I feel my team did? Well, let me give you the synopsis first, and then I'll give you my grade. General manager Doug Whaley took advantage of the quarterback feeding frenzy and traded back to number 27 in the first round while also acquiring a 2018 first-round pick. At 27, they brought in cornerback, keep in mind I said cornerback, Tre'Davious White, one of the more pro-ready players in this year's draft. He's a nice replacement for the departed Stephon Gilmore. Buffalo followed one pro-ready player with another one in the second round in wide receiver Zay Jones. The productive East Carolina wideout has great hands and runs good routes. He pairs nicely with Sammy Watkins. Then they traded back into the second round. It wasn't to get a quarterback, which maybe they should have done, but to get offensive lineman Dion Dawkins. He's a powerful and physical blocker who will be a good fit in the cold weather climate in Buffalo. The Bills were thought to be after a quarterback at some point this draft and found one in the fifth round in Nathan Peterman of Pittsburgh. He doesn't wow you with size or arm strength, but he's a solid player. He was held back to some degree by the Pittsburgh offense that used the short game a lot. A lot of people think, it's your team. You're probably going to give them, the best grade out there. No. As is the case for all our teams, we're going to give them the constructive criticism that they honestly deserve. So with that being said, the grade I give my team for the draft, it's a B- here. I mean, that's going to be a theme. I have a lot of B-. I'm going to be honest with you. So I thought my team did a solid job here. A solid B- for them. Very busy draft. And I thought they had a solid one. Now, the big question is it going to produce results? No team has missed the playoffs more than the Buffalo Bills have. They have the longest drought of any playoff team when it comes to making the postseason. They haven't made it since '99. I'm hoping this is the year. So, the draft, new head coach, Sean McDermott. Hopefully, this leads to results come September. Solid B- for my Buffalo Bills. So, MF, how did my team do in your eyes?
For the first time tonight, I disagree. And as a matter of fact, I'm even about to shock Anthony Florio. I thought Buffalo did better. I thought they did a very good job. I thought the Tre'Davious White call was a great call. Yes, there was a feeding frenzy at the quarterback position. Buffalo was basically, what they did was a smart move. By trading back, getting some extra picks, you put yourself in a very good position. I really liked what Buffalo did there. Then on top of that, to get Zay Jones, a very good wide receiver, and you're going to need it because Robert Woods has flown the coop. So, I mean, he is a guy that I'm going to even openly predict he's going to get about maybe 75, 80 catches this upcoming year. I mean, he's that kind of guy. You could utilize him out of the slot position. You could utilize him as, that intermediate range wide out. He's not a number one, but he's definitely a 2 or a 3 in your wide receiver depth chart. Then you got an offensive tackle, which you definitely and desperately needed. The only question mark I have with Buffalo is, Matt Milano from Boston College. I mean, he'll provide the depth, but he's a little undersized, and that's kind of something that I think Buffalo kind of swung and missed on. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be brutally honest with you on that one, but I think they really redeemed themselves by getting Tanner Vallejo, and then the Nathan Peterman move. I'm going to say I don't know if Buffalo really needs a quarterback. I mean, with Tyrod Taylor being your guy. Now, don't get me wrong. If Taylor gets injured, then okay. But Nathan Peterman is not going to see much of action. As a matter of fact, I don't even think he's even a number 2 quarterback. He was probably a number 3 right now. He needs a lot of years to develop more than anything else. However, because of the first 3 picks alone for Buffalo and the Tanner Vallejo pick as their final pick in the draft at 195, my grade for the Buffalo Bills is a B plus. I give a B plus to Buffalo. I think they did a very good job with their draft. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
I'll meet you guys in the middle and just give them a solid B here. I mean, yeah, I mean, like you basically said. I mean, I like the 3 picks that they made. The first 3 picks with Tre'Davious White. I mean, I really like this pick, and then getting Zay Jones and but what I really like was them getting Dion Dawkins, because they needed. I mean, they really need something at the guard position, especially if it's going to protect your franchise quarterback. If that is indeed, of course, Tyrod Taylor, which he is. So, and I also like that Tanner Vaheo pick here. So, yeah. So there's really nothing more to be said here. It's a B for me. So, so Florio, let's move on to our next team.
And that next team is the Carolina Panthers. A couple years removed from a Super Bowl appearance. And here's who they selected with their picks. Christian McCaffrey, running back out of Stanford. Curtis Samuel, wide receiver / halfback out of The Ohio State University. Taylor Moton, offensive tackle, Western Michigan. Deshaun Hall, defensive end, Texas A&M. Corn Elder, yes, that's his actual name, Corn Elder, cornerback out of Miami, the U. Alexander Armah, defensive end out of West Georgia, and Harrison Butker, a kicker out of Georgia Tech. And one quick note, the Panthers traded their 3rd round selection, number 72 overall, and defensive end Coney Ealy to the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots for New England's 2nd round selection, number 64 overall, and they used that to select Taylor Moton out of Western Michigan. So, MF, we're going to start it off with you. Carolina Panthers, how do they do in your eyes?
I thought Carolina did a good job. The Christian McCaffrey one, okay, I'm going to say it. I love his skill set. I love the way he plays the game. But then again, is he really a top 10 pick? No, he's not. I'm sorry. I think Carolina overreached on this. I think they made a horrific mistake with this call. I would have gone with Dalvin Cook here. I know Leonard Fournette was off the board at that time, but Dalvin Cook is a better running back than Christian McCaffrey. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. I'm going to be brutally honest about it. They did redeem themselves by getting Curtis Samuel from Ohio State. I mean, this guy is an X Factor guy. This guy could be like a Darren Sproles type guy. This guy could be like a Wes Welker type guy, a Julian Edelman type guy. You could put him out in the slot. He can be a running back. He can be a receiver. He can do kick returns. This guy is explosive. And trust me, I know him because me and Bullock had to deal with this guy every year when Michigan had to play Ohio State. And trust me, this guy was one of those guys I did not care for. So great pickup there. Corn Elder, okay. I mean, undersized guy in the cornerback, but again, defense is what Carolina really needed. And then with their last pick, they got a kicker. Need a kicker, draft a kicker. Good for Carolina. Good for them. Harrison Butker from Georgia Tech. Sometimes not the most glamorous picks are done, but hey, if you need it done, you have to do it. For me, this is I'm gonna give it another B minus. I'm gonna give this another B minus, B minus to a B. I think they did a good job. Again, Christian McCaffrey is not a top 10 pick, but I do think overall, other than the McCaffrey pick, I think all the others were pretty solid. So, yeah, I'm gonna say B to B minus is my rating for the Carolina Panthers. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a solid B as well. I mean, Yeah, some people would say, I mean, like Christian McCaffrey is not a is not a top 10 pick, but the thing is, I mean, they needed a running back to help them out. I mean, yeah, Dalvin Cook could have been a good pick as well, but I mean, McCaffrey. I mean, he is a mismatch player with the potential to shred the defense from the backfield as a multi-purpose weapon on the perimeter. Uh, the Samuel pick. I mean, I really like that. I mean, he basically. I mean, this could be a steal for them. I mean, he gave a lot of defenses fits, especially. Yes, I do agree with what he did against against the Michigan Wolverines and uh, the Taylor Martin pick. I like that. I mean, another offensive guard to block Cam Newton. He's a rugged blocker with the potential to play inside or outside along the line, and he could even get a chance to get a chance at right tackle before sliding over to guard to fill a void on the inside. Deshaun Hall. He's an intriguing pass rusher with the length and quickness to grow into an effective edge rusher. Corn Elder, I mean, is a junkyard dog on the perimeter with a rock solid game that's ideally suited to the Panthers zone based scheme. So, yeah, so I'm going to give it a solid B. So, uh, Florio, it is yours.
We got an agree to disagree situation. I agree with you guys for the most part, but for me, my grade is a little bit different on that. The Panthers doubled up on all-around offensive threats in the first 2 rounds with first-round pick Christian McCaffrey and second-rounder Curtis Samuel. They'll make the Carolina offense a lot more dynamic and fun to watch, but they're somewhat redundant. McCaffrey was obviously the player Carolina coveted in this draft, and he can change the run game and special teams. Carolina has needed talent on the offensive line for a couple of years, and they got an experienced player in Taylor Moton with the last pick of the second round. Moton is a fit, but I thought that pick could have been used on a pass rusher. Instead, the Panthers got one in the 3rd round with Texas A&M and Deshaun Hall at number 77, and he could be a factor early in his career. I'm going to go a little lower on my grade, to be honest with you. My grade for the Carolina Panthers, C+. That's the grade I have for the Carolina Panthers. Now we move on to Matt Ward, our good friend Matt Ward's team, the Chicago Bears. And boy, the Chicago Bears, oh boy, have they been making news lately. Their former one-time franchise quarterback, Jay Cutler, is now going to be going to the broadcast booth. Tony Romo ain't the only one who's going to be transitioning. Jay Cutler is going to be broadcasting with Fox Sports this fall, and he's going to be on the number 2 team with Kevin Burkhardt and Charles Davis. So that should be an interesting fit come this fall. So that's big news for the Chicago Bears. And also news to the Chicago Bears, their picks. They had the number 2 overall pick in the draft, and they used it on Mitchell Trubisky, the quarterback out of North Carolina. A lot of eyebrows were raised with that one. And they also added Adam Shaheen, tight end out of Ashland, Eddie Jackson, a safety out of Alabama, Tariq Cohen, running back out of North Carolina A&T, and Jordan Morgan, a guard out of Kutztown. They acquired an additional 4th-round selection, number 117 overall, as part of a trade that sent the team's 2016 second-round selection to the Buffalo Bills. They also traded their 6th-round selection, number 188 overall, to the Houston Texans in exchange for tight end Kari Lee. They traded their 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and a 2018 3rd-round pick to the 49ers in a trade for North Carolina quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, and traded their 2nd and 7th-round selections, 36th and 221st, to Arizona in exchange for Arizona's 2nd, 4th, and 6th-round selections, 45th, 119th, and 197th, as well as a 4th-round selection in 2018. Hope you got all that, because I'm not repeating it again. So that's the big news for the Chicago Bears. So, Michael Bullock, we started off with you. Matt Ward's team, the Chicago Bears. How did they do in your eyes?
I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. I'm gonna say minus to. I'm gonna go as far as to even say a D because I mean, okay, you trade a number, you trade a handful of picks to grab Trubisky, the second overall pick. I'm sorry, I don't like that pick because I mean he's he's not. I just don't see him as a first round talent. Not even first round talent, but not even worthy of a top 10. If I'm going to be quite honest here, I mean, there's a lot of questions with him about his NFL readiness. You already got a quarterback in free agency in Mike Glennon, so what's the point of this? I just don't get it. A lot of Chicago Bears fans were really upset with this, and quite frankly, I do not blame them one bit. And now, as far as the other picks, Adam Shaheen, he's a rugged wide with the size, speed, and strength to dominate the middle of the field as a featured pass catcher. Cohen is a dynamic playmaker capable of delivering explosive plays out of the backfield. So basically, they relied on some of the small schools. So C minus to a D, and I'm still puzzled about that Trubisky number 2 pick. Florio, it's yours. I'm still confused.
I don't like the pick either, Bullock, but I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to penalize them as much as you did. So I'll get to that in a minute. My grade on the Bears is lower than some might like because I don't think they needed to move up to take quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. Obviously, if it works out, he's a franchise quarterback. In my opinion, is totally irrelevant. But to me, they unnecessarily gave up a third-round pick in a deep draft. Chicago smartly then got some draft capital back, moving from number 36 in the second to 45 to get Ashland tight end Adam Shaheen. Although he played against inferior competition, he should be a good player for Chicago. I like pairing Shaheen with Trubisky. They could develop, keyword could develop a Tony Romo, Jason Witten-like rapport in Chicago. Alabama safety Eddie Jackson was a nice pickup in the 4th round, assuming he'll be fully healthy. The Bears had to find talent in the secondary, and he should help at safety. Running back Tariq Cohen will have value as a special teams player who can spell Jordan Howard. The Bears needed to get a cornerback and passed on the position totally. So my grade for Matt Ward, Chicago Bears, it's a solid C. MF, how did the Bears do in your eyes?
Oh my goodness. All right. You know what? I'm gonna say it. The Mitchell Trubisky. Why would you give up so much for this guy? It makes no sense. Is he Tom Brady all of a sudden? Horrific move in my eyes. The team needed weapons. For Adam Shaheen, the scouts really liked them, but they had other pressing needs. I did not like this pick at all. The Eddie Jackson was a 4-year starter's ability to develop in a single high safety return ability, but durability concerns after tearing his ACL in 2015 and fracturing his leg in 2016 makes me really wonder. And then with Cohen from the running back, look, maybe he could be like another Darren Sproles guy, a change of pace runner, but a little early for him. Even though he went in the 4th round, a lot of people were thinking he was going to go out maybe round 5, round 6. To go up at round 4, I think that was a reach. The only good pick I saw was Jordan Morgan. Basically, yes, he's a Division II school and will need to adjust to the NFL, but has the potential to become a starter someday. I think he's that good. But for me, I gotta give this at least a C- to a D. I'm with Michael Bullock on this. I think. I'm sorry, Matt Ward. I know these picks were horrible. Almost every one of them did not make sense at all. A majority of them I felt were reaches, except for maybe one. But I'm sorry, I just cannot defend this. I thought this was a horrible draft for the Chicago Bears, and there's really nothing else in order for me to say. I think they just absolutely they dropped the ball on a number of players, but nothing more to say. Anthony, let's move on to the next team.
In other words, to me, they threw in the towel on this draft.
Well, no, they didn't throw in the towel. It's just I don't think the scouts did their job right. It's almost like they had the lead and they let the other team just come back and kick their rear ends,
like they did a lot of times last season. So next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. A lot of picks here, so bear with me. John Ross, wide receiver, Washington. Joe Mixon, running back, Oklahoma. Jordan Willis, defensive end, Kansas State. Carl Lawson, defensive end, Auburn. Josh Malone, wide receiver, Tennessee. Ryan Glasgow, defensive tackle, Michigan. Jake Elliott, kicker, Memphis. J.J. Dielman, center out of Utah. Jordan Evans, linebacker, Oklahoma. Brandon Wilson, cornerback out of Houston. And Mason Schreck, a tight end out of Buffalo. Glasgow, Dielman, Wilson, and Schreck were all compensatory selections. And the Bengals also traded a 6th-round selection, number 217 overall, and a 7th-round selection, 227 overall, to the Tennessee Titans for a 6th-round selection, 207th overall, which was Brandon Wilson. So I start off on this one. Everyone expected the Bengals to come out of this draft with speed at receiver, and boy, did they ever. Their draft started with Washington's speed demon wide receiver John Ross, the number 9 overall pick. If he can stay healthy, he adds a new dimension to the offense. The Bengals got another speed receiver in the 4th round in Tennessee's Josh Malone. Cincinnati should be fine if A.J. Green gets hurt again. The Bengals dropped a bombshell in the 2nd round by picking Joe Mixon. On the field, he's one of the draft's 3 best running backs. If he stays out of trouble, he could be one of the steals of the draft. The Bengals waited until the 73rd overall pick to get the pass rusher they needed in Jordan Willis of Kansas State. Then they doubled up on edge rushers by taking Auburn's Carl Lawson in the 4th round. If even just one of the two becomes a viable starter, I like the strategy. Cincinnati took the first specialist of the draft with Memphis kicker Jake Elliott. This was a pick the Bengals had to make. Whether or not they should have gone with Zane Gonzalez of Arizona State, we'll see. So my grade for the Cincinnati Bengals, solid B-. So MF, Cincinnati Bengals. Are they a who-dey team again or what?
They had a who-dey draft, I'll tell you that much. Obviously, I'm going to disagree with you, Anthony. I think the B- is, I think I'm going to go a little higher than that. The John Ross and the Josh Malone picks were great. Yes, I did like the Ryan Glasgow from Michigan because that was a good defensive guy. The only pick I actually did not like was Jake Elliott. I think they kind of reached for him. I think they could have gone with somebody better. And yes, I understand the elephant in the room is Joe Mixon and pick number 48. And a lot of fans went absolutely ballistic on social media about that pick, poking fun at them, because of his checkered background, especially the baggage that he does bring to the table. But, I think at the end of the day, with everything that happened, look, yes, he did make a mistake. It was a costly mistake. What he did is reprehensible and unforgivable. But I think in this day and age, in this society, we are willing to forgive and give people second chances if they're worthy enough of it. I think he is. He's been very contrite. He's been very honest about what he has done, about his transgression, and I am willing to give him a second chance. As long as he does not mess up in the pros, I think we'll all be fine. I think it will be a great pickup for them too. For me, this is a B plus performance, flirting with almost an A minus level. I thought Cincinnati had a very good draft. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah. Excuse me. I'm going to give it a B as well. I mean, basically, I'm going to give it a B plus as well. I mean, basically, I like the John Ross pickup in the draft, and I also like the Glasgow pick. He'll definitely add to that to the defense. Mixon, I know it's come under a lot of scrutiny because of his background, but I do believe in second chances as well. I mean, so yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. You guys pretty much touched on everything. So to me, it is a B plus. So, Floria, let's move on to our next team.
And it's the team that had the number 1 overall selection in the 2017 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns. And who did they pick with the number 1 overall selection? Myles Garrett, defensive end out of Texas A&M. And along with him, they selected Jabril Peppers, safety, Michigan. David Njoku, tight end out of the U, Miami. Here's one for me. Deshaun Kaiser, quarterback out of Notre Dame. Larry Ogunjobi, defensive tackle out of Charlotte. Howard Wilson, cornerback out of Houston. Roderick Johnson, offensive tackle, Florida State. Caleb Brantley, defensive tackle out of Florida. Zane Gonzalez, kicker out of Arizona State. And Matt Days, running back, NC State. Whoa. MF, Cleveland Browns, boy, howdy, they cleaned up.
Not only did they clean up, they were one of the winners of the draft. For me, this is an A level rating, and that's what they're going to get, an A. They started it out with getting Myles Garrett. In my opinion, the best player on the entire draft board. Then they stole Jabril Peppers, which I thought was amazing. Getting David Njoku was a very good pickup. And then to get Deshaun Kaiser in the second round, where you knew a lot of quarterbacks were getting poached real early. They were very patient enough. I think Kaiser will be a good quarterback. I just think his work ethic needs to be a little better. However, then they went, with a nice defensive tackle with Agunaye Wilson, a nice little cornerback, and then you got Roderick Johnson, which I thought was a major home run. Great value for him as an offensive tackle. They nailed it on that one. Caleb Brantley, another home run for Cleveland as well as from Florida, another defensive tackle. The only thing I would say because he was a sixth level, he is actually second or third level talent. For him to fall to the sixth round, that was like almost grand larceny what Cleveland pulled on that one. And then to get what I believe was the best kicker in the draft, which was Zane Gonzalez, and to get Matthew Dawes from NC State as their final pick in the seventh round, another great value pick. No. This is A for me. This is easily one of the biggest winners of the entire NFL draft, maybe the winner of the draft weekend. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, this is definitely an A for me as well. I mean, Miles Garrett. They got the best player with the number one overall pick. I like what I mean. His potential is definitely there. And getting Jabril Peppers from Michigan. What a steal that is. Him being a safety, and it's definitely going to help that secondary for the Cleveland Browns. DeShone Kizer. I like that pick too. I think he'll definitely be a work in progress. Maybe he'll be a quarterback sometime down the road. Maybe in about 2 or 3 years, maybe even 4. But yeah, and they also got the defensive tackle from North Carolina, Charlotte. I like the Howard Wilson pick from Houston. So yeah, they're basically one of the winners, if not the winner of this draft. Florio, it is yours.
Initially, I was going to give it a B, a solid B, but you guys gave all. I can't argue against that. So I got to give it an A, even though my gut tells me to give it a solid B. But I will still give you my my little thesis here. The Cleveland Browns could have gone full Browns in this year's NFL draft by rushing a pick at quarterback, and they did not. It was smart. The Browns stood at number 1 and took the draft's unquestioned best player in defensive end Myles Garrett. In Greg Williams' defense, he should be a superstar. Then the Browns did what they're getting known to do by acquiring future assets by trading off number 12 and moving to 25 and getting Jabril Peppers. He's extremely talented and could answer Cleveland's problems at safety. Cleveland then jumped back into the first round to take tight end David Njoku. After releasing Gary Barnidge, the Browns will need to get production out of Njoku in a hurry. Then in the second round, the Browns got their quarterback in DeShone Kizer. He's obviously talented, but he was wildly inconsistent at Notre Dame. If he doesn't show a lot as a rookie, he shouldn't stop Cleveland from taking a quarterback next year. Defensive lineman Larry Ogunjobi in the third round was a decent pick, but I thought this should have been a cornerback, and that's where that's where the solid B grade came into play. Cleveland instead got one in the fourth round in Howard Wilson of Houston. The Browns then moved back up in the fifth round to get offensive tackle Roderick Johnson. He was once considered a first-round player, but his technique needs a lot of work. The pick of Caleb Brantley was strange. The Browns said if they're not comfortable with him, he'll be cut. Can a 1-15 team be afforded that type of luxury? So that's why I was leaning more towards the solid B, if I'm going to be real honest with you, even though the Cleveland Browns were one of the top winners of this NFL draft. Absolutely. I'm not going to disagree about that. No way. So that's all I can say on that. So it's really between a solid A to a solid B. So that's all I can say on that. So well done, Cleveland Browns. Let's hope you guys produce. I'll believe it when I see it. So, all right. Next up, we got the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. And here's who they selected with their picks. Taco Charlton, defensive end out of Michigan. Chidobe Awuzie, a cornerback out of Colorado. Jordan Lewis, another cornerback out of Michigan. Ryan Switzer, wide receiver, North Carolina. Xavier Woods from the WWE and the New Day. It's another Xavier Woods, safety out of Louisiana Tech. Marquez White, cornerback out of Florida State. Joey Ivy, defensive tackle out of Florida. Noah Brown, wide receiver, Ohio State. And Jordan Correll, defensive end out of Colorado. Cowboys traded their original 5th round selection to the Buffalo Bills in exchange for a 7th round selection and quarterback Matt Castle. That was 171 for Dallas. They traded in exchange for Buffalo at 228. And that's where they selected Joey Ivy. They traded their 2018 fifth-round selection to the New York Jets in exchange for a 2017 sixth-round selection, number 191 overall. That's Xavier Woods. They also traded their original sixth-round, number 211, to the New England Patriots in exchange for sixth, number 216 overall, Marquez White, and seventh round, number 239 overall, Noah Brown, out of Ohio State. So those are the moves by the Dallas Cowboys. So Michael Bullock, let's start it off with you. Dallas Cowboys. Good grade, bad grade. How did they do in the draft?
I'm going to give them a solid B here. If I'm going to be quite honest, I mean, I like the pick of Taco Charlton. I mean, especially with me being the Michigan guy that I am, and I saw good things out of him. He's a classic flasher with the size, length, and athleticism to excel. I mean, he needs to play with more energy, but the Michigan standout gives the Cowboys a legitimate rusher off the edge. So, I mean, the defense was already good, and I think it just got better with getting Taco Charlton. I mean, the Switzer pick. I mean, I think this could be a steal right here. I mean, Switzer is a dynamic playmaker with exceptional stop-start quickness and burst. He is slippery with the ball in his hands, particularly on punt returns, where he nearly equaled the NCAA's all-time punt return touchdown record. Switzer should step in as a fourth wide receiver or punt returner and make early contributions as a two-phase playmaker. So, and some are calling him, this could be like the Cole Beasley 2.0. So we'll see how it all plays out. So basically, I'm gonna give this a solid B. So yeah, so Florio, it is yours.
Another one I agree with for the most part, but I got a little lower than that, Bullock. I'll get to that in a minute. The Cowboys had to come out of this draft with a pass rusher and some help in the secondary. They mostly filled those needs. In the first round, Dallas went with Taco Charlton. While he may not have had a first-round grade by Dallas, he fills a premium position and fits perfectly in the system. Dallas followed that up with cornerbacks in their next two picks, Chidobe Awuzie at number 60 and Jordan Lewis at number 92. The pick of Awuzie was a great one. He can do everything. He can press, he can play off, he can stuff the run, and he can blitz. Lewis has some off-field issues, but on the field, he was incredibly productive at Michigan. Dallas then took slot receiver Ryan Switzer in the fourth round. He's a solid player, but I'm not sure how many targets he'll see in that offense. This team needed to pick a safety and waited until the sixth round to get one in Xavier Woods. He could be their new Barry Church. So with that being said, B- is my grade for America's team. So MF, Dallas Cowboys. Do you agree with Bullock? Do you agree with me? Or do you have a different grade for them altogether?
Well, guys, I'm gonna be real honest with you. When it comes to Dallas, I'll say this. I really think that Dallas, I love the Taco Charlton move. I love the Awuzie move, the cornerback, and then this was a solid draft. I think the only one I didn't really like was Joey Ivy from Florida. Other than that, I really like their draft. I thought it was good. I'm gonna give it a solid B. I mean, there's really nothing bad. I could even go as far to say B plus, but I'll go solid B here. Nothing bad, nothing too amazing, nothing too outrageous, I should say, except for maybe one pick that I kind of cringed on. But other than that, no, nothing more to say. Good draft. So, Florio, let's move on.
And we move on to the Super Bowl champions of 2 years ago. My Uncle Ed's favorite team, the Denver Broncos. Yes, the Denver Broncos. My Uncle Ed's team here. And let's see how they did in their draft for 2017. Their selections are as follows: Garrett Bowles, offensive tackle, Utah; DeMarcus Walker, defensive end, Florida State; Carlos Henderson, wide receiver, Louisiana Tech; Brendan Langley, cornerback out of Lamar; Jake Butt, tight end, Michigan. Yeah, buddy. We love that guy. Isaiah McKenzie, wide receiver out of Georgia, out of the made in Georgia Bulldogs, as Derek Ferrer likes to put them. D'Angelo Henderson, running back, Coastal Carolina; and Chad Kelly, quarterback out of Ole Miss. Prior to the draft, the Broncos received 4 compensatory selections: one in the 3rd round, number 101 overall, which was Langley; one in the 5th round, 177, and 2 in the 7th round, 252 and 253. First time in NFL draft history in which teams were allowed to trade compensatory selections. And the Broncos later traded the 177 and number 252 selections. So that's what they did. And, well, how did they do in our eyes? Well, everyone knew the Broncos would take an offensive tackle in the 1st round, so it wasn't a real shock when they picked Utah's Garrett Bowles. He'll give the offense an edge blocking at left tackle. The next 3 picks, and DeMarcus Walker, wide receiver Carlos Henderson, and cornerback Brandon Langley, did not do a lot for me, I'm sorry to say. I thought each of them were a reach. Walker is a good fit in the system in Denver, though. My favorite pick of the entire weekend for Denver, without question, was Michigan tight end Jake Butt. He may not be a big factor early in this 2017 season, but in the future, he should be a dependable player in the pass offense. With the last pick, they snuck in quarterback Chad Kelly. I understand why he fell. He's had a bunch of injuries and off-field stuff. On the field, he was spotty, but boy, some of his throws at Ole Miss were special. And he's definitely worth the flyer. Uncle Ed, I love you, man. I mean, you just celebrated a birthday this past week. This past Tuesday, you celebrated your birthday. And the Denver Broncos, while I do like some of the picks, there were others I did not like, as I just mentioned. So I'm sorry to do this to you, Uncle Ed, but I got to be honest here. C+ is the grade I have for your Denver Broncos. So that's all I can say on that. And of course, they made news earlier this week by signing Jamal Charles from the Kansas City Chiefs. How you like those apples? So MF, my Uncle Ed's Denver Broncos, how did they do in your eyes?
E level for me. Of course, the Garrett Bowles was the obvious choice. They need to go at the number 1. Yes, I do agree. When they got Walker, Henderson, and Langley, that was kind of reaches there, and I didn't really like that. But they turned it around. Once they got to 5 through 7, I thought they did a great job. Jake Butt was the big winner there. Then you got Isaiah McKenzie, a very undersized and good wide receiver. I really think that he's really going to become a big-time player. There was a little questions about D'Angelo Henderson. And then, yes, Chad Kelly. Well, not only was he Ole Miss and everything else. But Florio, I can't believe you didn't mention this, but Chad Kelly is Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last pick in the draft. You totally bypassed it like it was nobody's business.
I don't know how many total picks there are. I didn't know 253 was the last one.
Yes, 253 is the last one. He's Mr. Irrelevant.
I thought it was 266. My mistake.
Nope. This year they dropped it to 253. But anyway, so he is Mr. Irrelevant. So, I mean, that is definitely, we'll wait and see how it goes with him. For me, I disagree with Florio wholeheartedly here. I'm going to give it a B for the Denver Broncos. Like I said, first half of the draft, once they got their first round pick, I thought that was a perfect pick for them. They kind of swung and missed with the next 3, but then after that, they were nailing them one by one. I had nothing bad to say. Even the Chad Kelly pick, for him being Mr. Irrelevant, I thought was a very good pick as well. So B for me. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, it's a B for me as well. I mean, I like the Garrett Bowles pick. I mean, definitely gonna give a little boost to that offensive line there. I mean, the next 3 picks, I do agree. I think was swing and misses. If I'm gonna be quite honest here, But then after that, they really started to improve with getting Jake Butt at tight end. I mean, he may not be a factor this upcoming season, but somewhere down the line, I think he'll definitely play a huge role in the offense for the Denver Broncos. And then getting Isaiah McKenzie from Georgia, D'Angelo Henderson from Coastal Carolina, and then getting Chad Kelly, Mr. Irrelevant, as the final pick of the draft. So it's a solid B for me. So Florio, let's move on to our next team.
And that next team is the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, here are their picks as follows. Jared Davis, linebacker out of Florida. Teez Tabor, cornerback also out of Florida. Kenny Golladay, wide receiver, Northern Illinois. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, linebacker, Tennessee. Michael Roberts, tight end out of Toledo. Jamal Agnew, cornerback, San Diego. Jeremiah Ledbetter, defensive end, Arkansas. Brad Kaya, quarterback out of the U. And Pat O'Connor, defensive end out of Eastern Michigan. They made two separate trades for the New England Patriots, acquiring an additional sixth-round selection, number 215 overall, in exchange for linebacker Kyle Van Noy, and their original seventh-round selection, 239 overall, and acquiring an additional seventh-round selection, number 250, in exchange for tight end Michael Williams. And they also traded their original third-round selection, number 85, to the Patriots in exchange for the Patriots' third-round selection, number 96 overall, and their fourth-round selection, number 124 overall. So with all that being said, I believe we started with MF. So MF, Detroit Lions, how did they do in your eyes on this draft?
I thought they did a good job. I thought, I'm going to say it. I'm going to give them a B. I think they did a good job. With Detroit, I'm going to say this. I think what they did in this draft, and I'm going to be openly, I think adding three former teammates of Jared Davis and Trace Byer, they both had potential to be day one starters. There's at least there are a lot of developmental talent that they got in the final day of the draft, which would be, I think the developmental is Reese Maybin, Roberts, Jamal Agnew. I love the Ledbetter move. I thought his draft was great to pick up Brad Kaya. That's a nice guy that you can get because of the fact that you can use him as, he could be a backup quarterback or maybe the quarterback of the future once Matthew Stafford's career or his career in Detroit winds down. You got a good young guy. My father, I know, was very high on Brad Kaya. He liked him in the U when he was there. And then Pat O'Connor, another nice guy that you can use. He's more of a depth guy and was a perfect guy to get in that final round in round 7. So for me, I'm gonna give this a B, a solid B for the Detroit Lions. I thought they did a very good job in the draft. So Michael Bilek, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a solid B as well. I mean, basically, I like the pick of Jared Davis, number 21 overall. And the thing is, they needed upgrade defensively, and getting Jared Davis was certainly helped, and also got Teez Tabor from Florida as well. So yeah, getting Pat O'Connor in the 7th round, and yeah, so they certainly, yeah. So basically, this is went a lot of defense, and that's what the thing they needed to do. So it's a B for me. So Florio, it is yours.
In the first round, the Lions got a certain starter and linebacker, Jared Davis, He's a 3-down linebacker who could come up and stuff the run and do a little bit of everything else well. Throw away the testing numbers on second-round pick Teez Tabor. He's a good player who should also start for the Lions. Third-round pick Kenny Golladay was a surprise selection, but he has good size and speed. The Lions got him via a trade back where they acquired an extra fourth-round pick that turned into linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maven. He's a good weak-side linebacker when healthy. Tight end Michael Roberts doesn't have a lot of flash in his game, but he should be an excellent number 2 tight end behind Eric Ebron. My issue, however, here is no pass rusher, whether it's coming from inside or the edge until the 6th round. And that's why I got to slightly disagree with you guys, and I got to give this a solid C for the Detroit Lions. So I'm just being honest here, brutally honest. So now we move on to our next team, and ironically, we're staying in the NFC North. And that team, of course, is the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers on the board next. And let's see who they got coming in. Kevin King, cornerback out of Washington. Josh Jones, safety, NC State. Montravius Adams, defensive tackle, Auburn. Vince Beagle, outside linebacker, Wisconsin. Jamal Williams, running back, BYU. D'Angelo Yancey, wide receiver out of Purdue. Aaron Jones, running back out of UTEP. Kofi Amashia, guard out of South Florida. Devontae Mays, running back, Utah State. And Malachi Dupree, wide receiver, LSU. And Aaron Jones at number 182 was their one compensatory selection. Traded their first-round selection, number 29, to Cleveland in exchange for Cleveland's second and fourth-round selections, number 33 and 108, which were Kevin King and Vince Beagle, respectively. And they traded their fifth-round selection, 172, to Denver in exchange for Denver's fifth and seventh-round selections, number 175 and 238. So that's it. Michael Bullock, Green Bay Packers, draft grade. Let's have it.
All right, I'm gonna give this a B plus. I mean they made a pretty good effort to upgrade the defense with some of their early round selections with Montravius Adams and of course Vince Beagle. And the thing is, they are competitive defenders, probably slated for roles as rotational players. And then, of course, on the offensive side of the ball, getting Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones gives the Packers options at the running back position as talented runners with role-specific skills. Williams is, of course, a thumper. Jones as a change of pace weapon. And keep an eye on Malachi Dupree as a developmental pass catcher with the potential to crack the lineup. So with that being said, it's a B plus for me. So Florio, it's yours.
We agree, Bullock. First time in a while, we agree here. B plus for me as well. They smartly traded out of the first round. The Packers knew they could because the depth of the draft this year at cornerback is what they needed. So instead of picking 29, the Packers dropped back to 33 and got Washington's Kevin King. He's a great system fit and has size. He should push for a starting spot as a rookie. The other pick they got from the deal turned into linebacker Vince Beagle, who should at the least be good depth and a quality special teams player. He has some potential as a pass rusher. Between them, the Packers got safety Josh Jones at number 61 and defensive lineman Montravius Adams at number 93. Jones is a great pick. He played at safety and corner at NC State and should give the Packers the type of versatile defensive back that many teams want right now. Adams was hot and cold at Auburn, but he gives the Packers a player on the defensive line who can get into the backfield after the quarterback. My knock on this draft is skipping out on a running back until the third day when they got Jamal Williams of BYU and Aaron Jones of UTEP. I thought the pick of Malachi Dupree in the 7th round was a smart one, and the quarterback play at LSU was terrible. So that's all I can say on that. So Michael Bullock, I 100% agree with you on that grade. It's a B plus for the Green Bay Packers. So MF, your good friend Tanya Canings, who's a diehard Green Bay Packers fan. I'm very curious to find out how she felt about all these picks. But first, let's find out how you feel about it.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to talk to Tanya yet, so she doesn't. So I don't know how she feels about it. However, I will say this: for the first time in a long time, it is a unanimous vote. It is a B plus for me as well. Defense was the top priority for Ted Thompson, and he delivered with Kevin King. Then trading out of the first round, then getting versatile Josh Jones and underrated Vince Beagle. He also used a third round to get Martavius Allen, which was the best, which at best is a decent, probably not eye popping value, or at worst a throwaway pick. Later, it was the run game on the docket, and they actually doubled down on that by getting Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. That could be a very good duo alongside Aaron Rodgers, and at the bare minimum will free up Ty Montgomery to roam the scheme more. So, I mean, for me, this was a good draft for Green Bay, and I do agree this was a B plus as well. So let's move on to the next team.
And our next team is the Houston Texans. And here's who the Houston Texans selected with their draft picks. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback from your national champion, or I should say your college football playoff national champion, Clemson Tigers, winning it in that championship game for the ages back in January. Unbelievable. Zach Cunningham, linebacker, Vanderbilt. Deontay Foreman, running back out of Texas. Julian Davenport, offensive tackle, Bucknell. Carlos Watkins, defensive tackle, also from the champion Clemson Tigers. Treston Decoud, cornerback out of Oregon State. And Kyle Fuller, center out of Baylor. Texans acquired a fourth-round compensatory selection, number 142, from the Cleveland Browns in exchange for Houston's sixth-round selection, number 188 overall, 2018 second-round selection, and quarterback Brock Osweiler. Texans acquired an additional sixth-round selection, number 188 overall, in a trade that sent tight end Kari Lee to the Chicago Bears. Texans traded their original sixth-round selection, number 209, along with their first-round selection in 2016, number 22, to the Washington Redskins in exchange for the Redskins' first-round selection in 2016, number 21. Okay. Houston is another team I knock a little bit for giving up a ton to get a quarterback in the first round. Houston gave up a 2018 first-round pick to Cleveland out of necessity to get Deshaun Watson of Clemson. Again, if it works out, my opinion does not matter. If it doesn't, it could really set the franchise backward. It is a good landing spot for Watson, though. Getting linebacker Zach Cunningham in the second round was a great pick. He's a three-down player who can move around nicely and drop in coverage. Running back Deontay Foreman is a solid player to take in the third round, but he might not get a ton of carries behind Lamar Miller. Offensive tackle Julian Davenport was my favorite pick for Houston. He's a developmental player, but his tools are really, really impressive. Fellow fourth-round pick Carlos Watkins adds good depth on the defensive line. So, solid, but not overly spectacular draft for the Houston Texans. So my grade for them is a C+. So even though I love the Watson pick, so MF Houston Texans, they gave up a lot to get Deshaun Watson. Did it pay off in their eyes or what?
It paid off, but it wasn't because of Deshaun Watson is why I'm giving them a B. The reason why I'm giving them a B, by getting Zach Cunningham, Dakota Foreman, and the Julian Davenport, plus Carlos Jenkins move as well, and Kyle Fuller. I thought those moves were absolutely stunning. They were amazing, and these were guys they actually needed. Defensively, they needed a defensive player because their defense was a little bit hurt last year. When J.J. Watt went out, that kind of really neutralized their team. To get an offensive tackle in Davenport, that's really good value that they got at that point in this reason. And yes, the Deshaun Watson, they gave up a lot to get him. And I know a lot of people were kind of like, okay, it's great, but they poo-pooed over it because of how much they gave up. It was almost like the Mitchell Trubisky thing all over again. When you give up too much to get a big player, you better deliver or else. So for me, I got nothing bad to say. This was a B rating for me because it wasn't because of the Watson pick, but everything else they did was solid for me. I thought they did a great job. So nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a B for me as well. I mean, basically, yeah, they did give up a lot to get Deshaun Watson, but basically, they needed a quarterback. They needed a franchise quarterback because that's basically been the problem. Of course, the only reason why they got to the playoffs and got as far as the divisional round was because of their defense. So hopefully Deshaun Watson can be that guy. But we'll wait and see. So I like some of the other picks, especially Davenport from Bucknell and Watkins, and also getting Fuller. So uh, yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. So it's a B for me. So with that being said, Florio, let's move on to our next team.
And that next team staying in the AFC South is the Indianapolis Colts. And here's who they selected: Malik Hooker, free safety out of Ohio State; Quincy Wilson, cornerback, Florida; Terrell Basham, outside linebacker, Ohio; Zach Banner, offensive tackle, USC; Marlon Mack, running back, South Florida; Grover Stewart, defensive tackle, Albany State; Nate Hairston, cornerback out of Temple; and Anthony Walker Jr., inside linebacker, USC. Grover Stewart at number 144 was their one compensatory selection. They traded their 7th round selection, number 233, to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for defensive end Billy Wynn. And they also traded Dwayne Allen and their 6th round selection, number 200, to the New England Patriots for their 4th round selection, number 137, which was Zach Banner out of USC. So I believe we started with MF. So MF, Indianapolis Colts, good draft, bad draft, in the middle, what?
Well, I'm going to say this. Going into this was a real interesting draft for me. I really kind of was wondering what we were going to get from them. And once everything came down, I'm going to say it, B plus level. I think this was a very good draft for them. The Malik Hooker was without a doubt an unbelievable move. I thought that was a nice pickup for them. I'm going to tell you guys, this guy's being compared to be the next Ed Reed. I mean, he's got great range in the middle of the field. That's an explosive guy that you want to have as your free safety position. Chuck Pagano, you got yourself a star in the making. Quincy Watson, a nice pickup as well. Basically, a lot of B-level guys that you got. Two guys I kind of think were kind of reaches, and I really didn't like out of their draft. Grover Stewart, I didn't like that one, and Nate Hairston from Temple. I kind of got questions about them two. Other than that, I loved everybody else. B plus for the Indianapolis Colts. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, it's a B plus for me as well. I really love the pick of Malik Hooker, and I mean, like you said, some people think that he's going to be the next Ed Reed. They're comparing him to Ed Reed, so yeah, so I really like that. And then, of course, they also adding more to this secondary with getting Quincy Wilson, then getting, of course, Basham. So they upgraded to their defense before getting an offensive lineman in the next round. So it's a B plus for me as far as I'm concerned when it comes to the Colts. So Florio, it is yours.
I'm gonna meet you guys in the middle, and I'm gonna give it a solid B. The Colts got one of the steals of the first round in safety Malik Hooker. I know he's a liability as a tackler, but his ability dropping in coverage is special. If Chuck Pagano wanted a new Ed Reed, he found it, like MF said. The Colts followed that up with another defensive back, taking Florida cornerback Quincy Wilson in the 2nd round. Colts had to fix their secondary and did so with their first 2 picks. Indianapolis also had to find an edge rusher and did it with Terrell Basham. He plays with good burst and power. Massive blocker Zach Banner should help the Colts running game, as should running back Marlon Mack, a fellow 4th-round pick. He could pick off carries from Frank Gore early in his career. The other picks for the Colts are decent depth pieces, so solid B for the Indianapolis Colts. Next up, again, we're staying in the AFC South, and we're gonna talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars now. And let's see what they did with their draft selections. Leonard Fournette, running back, LSU. Cam Robinson, offensive tackle, Alabama. Dwayne Smoot, defensive end, Illinois. Dede Westbrook, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Blair Brown, linebacker, Ohio. Jalen Myrick, cornerback out of Minnesota. And Marquez Williams, fullback out of Miami, the U. Jaguars traded tight end Julius Thomas to Miami for its 7th-round selection, number 240, which was Marquez Williams. And they traded their 2nd and 6th-round selections, 35 and 187, to Seattle for its 2nd-round selection, number 34, which they use on Cam Robinson out of Alabama. So that's all the moves. Michael Bullock, Jacksonville Jaguars. I thought they did pretty good in my eyes. I don't know about you.
I think they did pretty good as well. I'm going to give this an A-. The Leonard Fournette pick, I really like, and he's got that the power running game. Was one of the reasons why he was one of the best running backs on the LSU, if not the best running back in the SEC. And then getting Cam Robinson, I like that pick too, upgrading the offensive line, and then of course improving defensively, getting Dwayne Smoot from Illinois and Blair Brown from Ohio, and the Dede Westbrook pick. Some would say it's a controversial pick because he does have some background, but we'll wait and see how it all plays out. So it's an A- for me. So Florio, what's yours?
Slight disagreement, Bullock. B- for me. Let me see what I have here. With Blake Bortles having an up-and-down career, the Jaguars started their draft by taking running back Leonard Fournette, who can be the focus of the team's offense. Fournette can be a force for Jacksonville. That, of course, is assuming the offensive line can open holes for him. That's why I love the pick of Cam Robinson at the top of the 2nd round. If he's playing hard, he performs like a 1st-round player. That's especially true in his run blocking. Because Dante Fowler has struggled, getting Dwayne Smoot of Illinois was a smart move in the 3rd round. Dede Westbrook was a solid 4th-round pick, but he'll need to figure out how to stand out in a crowded wide receiver group in Jacksonville. Linebacker Blair Brown was a nice depth addition in the 5th round. I'm surprised they didn't get a tight end or quarterback at some point, and that reflected on my overall grade. So B- for Jacksonville. MF, how about it?
I'm going to go with a solid B. I thought they did a very good job here. I actually did not like the Leonard Fournette thing. I think they drafted him way too high. I understand why they wanted him, because you can get an explosive running back. But again, I loved the fact that they got Cam Robinson and Devontae Smoot. Then to get Dede Westbrook, yes, he does have a lot of character issues, but here's the thing. He's an explosive player with tremendous production, scoring 17 touchdowns in 2016. A good addition for Blake Bortles to help stretch defenses downfield. And that's the biggest thing that you could say. I think my questionable pick would be actually the last guy, Marquez Williams, the fullback from Miami. Basically a redshirt senior and a big boy for a fullback at 280 pounds. One other thing I have to say is, are you a believer that the running back could be the missing piece for a struggling franchise? If so, then this is one for you. To take Leonard Fournette, a player with undeniable upside, but has had injury concerns in the past. It's an uncertain fit with the style. However, stealing Cam Robinson will help Fournette and Bowles, and should have gone in the first round. That for him to be in the second round, that was a steal. Smoot was a player that the Jaguars apparently liked more than any other team, and then Dede Westbrook could open up the middle of the field, but his character red flags are concerning though. Quality picks with Blair Brown at 148, and at 222, which was Jalen Malik, the speedy cornerback. But everything obviously hinges on what Leonard Fournette does. If he delivers, then it's going to be a great draft. If he doesn't, then unfortunately, then the Jaguars are going to have to go back to the drawing board. And Tom Coughlin, this is going to be his moment now. How is that going to hinge? We'll wait and see. B for me. Floria, let's move on. Next team.
And it's the team of our First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, Dede Woodson, along with Kevin Woodson, and another one of our good friends, Rob Parsons. The Kansas City Chiefs are the next up. And here are their picks. Patrick Mahomes, the second quarterback out of Texas Tech. Tanoh Kapasagnan, defensive end out of Villanova. Kareem Hunt, running back, Toledo. Yehu Chesson, wide receiver, Michigan. Ukeme Eligwe, linebacker, Georgia Southern. And Leon McQuay III, a safety out of USC, compensatory selection. They forfeited their original sixth-round selection, what would have been the 211th overall, as part of their punishment for a violation of the NFL's anti-tampering policy during the 2015 free agency period. They traded their first-round selection 27th, their third-round selection 91st, and 2018 first-round selection for the Buffalo Bills, first-round selection number 10 overall. Traded their third-round selection number 104, fourth-round selection 132, and seventh-round 245 to Minnesota for their third-round selection number 83. Traded tight end James O'Shaughnessy and their sixth-round selection 216 to the New England Patriots for the Patriots' fifth-round selection 183 overall. And traded two fifth-round selections, 170 and 180, also to Minnesota for their fourth-round selection, 139 overall. My grade on what Kansas City did in this draft is due to my opinion that they gave up way too much to trade up for quarterback Patrick Mahomes in the first round. Again, if he works out, I look dumb, and it doesn't matter. But to give up picks numbers 27 and 91 this year and a first-round pick in 2018 is a lot, not to mention a trifle unnecessary. They're a team that I think could have used this draft to find a player in the first round who can push them over the top in 2017 and help them finally make the Super Bowl push. Second-round pick, Tanoh Kapasagnan, should start his career as a good depth piece, but he has work to do as a football player. He's a massive super athlete, but he's raw. Running back Kareem Hunt should provide the Chiefs with the most immediate help. He's a good all-around player who slid some in the draft because he doesn't have great top-end speed. The Chiefs gave up several picks to get him and then gave another extra pick to move up in the fourth round to take wide receiver Yehu Chesson. The Michigan receiver should push for targets early in his career. I like some of these picks, I do, but some of the things they did to get these picks I thought were a trifle unnecessary, and that's why I'm sorry. I got to be a little hard here. I got to give the Kansas City Chiefs a solid C. I'm sorry. So I know it probably should be higher, but it's a solid C in my book. So MF, agree, disagree, what?
This is one of those instances where, remember how you were saying earlier in the night you were thinking one thing and you ended up doing something else? Where I think we kind of convinced you that a team deserved a higher grade and you actually gave it to them. This is one of those instances where I was going to give them a B, but then you kind of gave some blaring red cards, and definitely for me, I had to reconsider. And here's the reason why. Their first three picks were good, and I was going to give them a B. But then when you get Chesson and McCourty the third, and how bad those three picks were, I'm sorry. I'm with you, Anthony. I'm gonna give him a C. I'm gonna meet you at that point there. So C for me. Mike Bullock, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this unanimous. I'm gonna give this a C as well. I mean, you you've made some pretty valid points there. So there's really nothing more for me to say. So let's move on to our next team, Florio.
And we're staying in the AFC West, and it's the all-new Los Angeles Chargers. They're no longer the San Diego Chargers. They are the Los Angeles Chargers. And let's see how they did in this NFL draft. Mike Williams, wide receiver, Clemson. Forrest Lamp, guard, Western Kentucky. Dan Feeney, guard, Indiana. Rayshawn Jenkins, safety out of Miami. Desmond King, safety, Iowa. Sam Teavee, offensive tackle, Utah. And Isaac Rochelle, defensive end, Notre Dame. I believe we started off with MF. So MF, LA Chargers. They're no longer San Diego. They're now in the LA Chargers. And their first draft as the LA Chargers, were they winners or losers in your eyes?
Man, I'm gonna say this. This one is all over the place. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, okay, when you got Mike Williams from Clemson, okay, that was a solid pick. Then you got Forrest Lamp, which was a nice pick. Dan Freeney, a monster home run. Then you go with Rayshawn Jenkins, which, great. Desmond King, monster steal for them. Even Isaac Rochelle from Notre Dame, that was a monster steal for them. It's kind of one of those where I want to give him an A, but I'm feeling B. It's like I want to give him an A because I love some of these picks, but I can only give him like a B plus. I'm kind of frustrated because it's one of those where my heart's telling me one thing, but my head's telling me another thing, and I can't do it. I gotta do it. A B plus. I'm flirting with A, and I want to give it to them, but I just can't. There's a couple of picks there that kind of hurts it, but we'll wait and see what happens. B plus for the LA Chargers, I should say. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give this a B plus as well, and me, yeah, I'm gonna give this a B plus for their first draft as the Los Angeles Chargers. I like the Mike Williams draft pick. I mean, they need some help in the wide receiver position, and they got some upgrade in the offensive line with a couple of guards in Forrest Lamp and Dan Feeney. Again, Sam Teavee out of Utah. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. B plus for me. So Florio, what's yours?
Solid B for me, guys. When the Chargers took wide receiver Mike Williams in the first round, I thought it was early for the Clemson wide receiver. But given the top 10 run at the position, the NFL seemed to love receivers high more than those who cover the draft. If getting Williams was early, the Chargers stole guard Forrest Lamp with the 38th pick. He's a great player and should get into the starting lineup immediately. I criticized the pick of Dan Feeney in the third round because he's another interior blocker. But then the Chargers made up for it by getting defensive backs Rayshawn Jenkins and Desmond King on the third day of the draft. King is a particularly intriguing pick. Like with Tabor of Florida, throw away the size and measurables. He just makes plays. Jenkins can be a good enforcer of safety for the Chargers. I may not like the order in which the Chargers filled needs, but they filled them all successfully. The knock on this draft is not finding a defensive lineman until the seventh round. So it's a solid B for me for the Los Angeles Chargers. Now we move on to Well, the for the first time in over 20 years, the second LA team. Yes, we have two Los Angeles teams. How awesome is that, huh? The Los Angeles Rams. Their second season back in Los Angeles after all those years in St. Louis. And here's who they selected with their picks. Gerald Everett, tight end, South Alabama. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver, Eastern Washington. John Johnson, defensive back / safety out of Boston College. Josh Reynolds, wide receiver, Texas A&M. Samson Ebukam, linebacker, Eastern Washington. Tanzel Smart, defensive tackle, Tulane. Sam Rogers, fullback, Virginia Tech. And Ewan Price, defensive end, Pittsburgh. Rams traded their 2017 first-round selection, number 5, a 2017 third-round compensatory selection, number 100, along with their 2016 first, 2 second, and third-round selections to the Tennessee Titans in exchange for the Titans' 2016 first, 4th, and 6th-round selections. And the Rams were awarded an additional compensatory selection, number 141 overall. So let me I believe it's Michael Bullock who leads off on this one, correct?
Yep.
All right, Bullock.
Yeah, because Fletcher led off on the last team.
Right. The Los Angeles Rams. How did they do, Bullock?
All right. Well, the thing is, they needed an upgrade offensively to help. They need to add weapons to help their young franchise quarterback Jared Goff to become a playmaker. They got Gerald Everett, a tight end, a hybrid tight end with size, speed, and ball skills. He could play the Jordan Reed role in Sean McVay's offense as a versatile pass catcher on the perimeter. Cooper Kupp, a polished route runner with strong hands and superb ball skills, could occupy a big role as a number 3 wide receiver in the Rams' passing attack. And then John Johnson, the safety, gives Wade Phillips a dynamic safety with cornerback-like skills, and he could be a surprise starter in the secondary as a rookie. And Buckham is an athletic freak with the physical tools to emerge as a rotational player early in his career. So to all that, I'm gonna say, to me, there are other things they could have improved upon. Well, to me, one of them I think they missed out on, I would have to say, is the offensive line, because if you're going to protect your young franchise quarterback at Jared Goff, I think an upgraded offensive line could have helped. So to me, it's a B-. So Florio, it is yours.
This draft for the Rams was all about finding help for second-year quarterback Jared Goff. That's what Los Angeles did in taking tight end Gerald Everett and wide receiver Cooper Kupp with their first 2 picks. The team then brought in Texas A&M wide receiver Josh Reynolds in the 4th round. None may be superstar number 1 lead receivers, but they're all solid targets. Kupp in particular is a nice pickup. He catches everything thrown his way. Everett can be a nice weapon to move around the entire field. My favorite pick for the Rams was 7th rounder Ewan Price. He's undersized and has had some injuries in the past, but he knows how to get the most out of what he has, and he has the will to stick. Slightly lower grade than you both. You gave it a B-. That's fair enough, but for me, it's a solid C for the Los Angeles Rams. So, MF, your grade for the Los Angeles Rams.
I'm not going to waste too much time. C for me. Let's move on.
And we're moving on to your team, MF, the Miami Dolphins. Let's see what the Miami Dolphins did in this NFL draft, shall we? And then we'll see if we okay, here we go. Charles Harris, defensive end, Missouri. Raekwon McMillan, outside linebacker, Ohio State. Cordrea Tankersley, cornerback out of the champion Clemson Tigers. Isaac Asiata, offensive guard, Utah. Davon Godchaux, defensive tackle, LSU. Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle, Oklahoma State. And Isaiah Ford, wide receiver, Virginia Tech. They traded their 3rd and 4th round selections as well as their 6th round selection in 2016 number 186 to Minnesota in exchange for Minnesota's third-round selection in 2016, 86. If Miami receives a fourth-round compensatory selection, that pick will go to Minnesota. If they do not receive a compensatory selection, Minnesota would receive Miami's original fourth-round selection. Dolphins were awarded 3 compensatory picks by the NFL, 1 in the third round, 97, which was Tankersley, and 2 in the fifth, 178 and 184. So that's the notes on them, and I get to lead it off. So the Dolphins are a team that came into the draft understanding their needs. Miami didn't get fancy and trade around. The team just went down its needs list and checked each one off. That started in the first round with pass rusher Charles Harris. He might begin his career as a rush specialist, but he fits on a team that added run-stopping specialist William Hayes. On the second day of the draft, the Dolphins continued on defense, getting linebacker Raekwon McMillan of Ohio State and cornerback Cordrea Tankersley of Clemson. Both could develop into starters. My grade would be higher if they picked up an interior offensive lineman earlier in the draft, but they still found one in Utah's Isaac Asiata in the 5th round. Defensive lineman Davon Godchaux and Vincent Taylor provide solid depth. So MF, my grade for your Dolphins is a B-. So MF, I know this grade not just reflects your opinion, but I'm sure it reflects the opinion of your Dolphin family members, Eric Carrier, Lisa Medeiros, Bianca Corbin, and the rest of anybody else who's in your Dolphin family. So MF, on behalf of you and your Dolphin family, what grade do you give your Dolphins in this NFL draft?
I will say this. I'm going to say this. Eric Carrier pretty much said it, and I believe it is true. This was one of the best drafts the Dolphins have ever had in all the years that they've been doing this. We filled the needs in every position that we needed to get. We struggled on defense. We got a defensive end, a linebacker, a corner out of the gates. Check, check, check. Then we needed offensive line help. That's where we got Isaac Asiata, and not only that, but he's a powerful lineman and a Morris Award winner as well. He fills the need. He plugs it in. And he can start right away for Miami. That is great because of the fact that they are thinking about moving Laramie Tunsil into more of an inside guard position as an offensive tackle. Basically, he can fit right in as an offensive guard, basically covering the blind spot for Ryan Tannehill. Then we got 2 defensive ends with Godchaux and Taylor. These are 2 guys that we could really use. Athletic, strong team for Miami. And then to get Isaiah Ford as our last pick, which it was a depth in the with very good value and a depth pick for the Miami Dolphins. I think we did very well in the draft, and I'm going to give this team an A- for the Miami Dolphins. I thought we had a tremendous draft. I love the picks that we were making, and I think even every single Dolphin fan agreed with this draft, especially one got later, because a lot of the guys who were 2nd or 3rd round talents were actually falling down to the Miami Dolphins. So we actually basically were burglars in basically committing robberies left and right towards the end of the draft. Tremendous draft for the Miami Dolphins. A-. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, it's an A- for me as well. I mean, like you said, I mean, getting Charles Harris, I thought was a really good pick here, and also getting Raekwon McMillan from Ohio State. I mean, he an all-over linebacker who seems pretty competitive against the pass and fights well against the run, and they got Isaac Asiata. I mean, I like that pick too. I mean, even though they could have gone with an offensive lineman early in the draft, but the thing is, they got what they needed, so it's an A minus for me as well. So Florio, let's move on to our next team.
And it's the Minnesota Vikings, and no team had a busier draft than the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, my goodness. Their first round pick, they traded to Philadelphia. And then they picked up – now here are the picks that they picked up altogether. Dalvin Cook, running back, Florida State. Pat Elflein, center, Ohio State. Jaleel Johnson, defensive tackle, Iowa. Ben Gideon, linebacker, Michigan. Rodney Adams, wide receiver, USF. Danny Isadora, offensive guard, Miami. Bucky Hodges, tight end, Virginia Tech. Stacy Coley, wide receiver, Miami. Ifeadi Odenibu, Northwestern. Elijah Lee, Kansas State. And Jack Tocho from NC State. They made several trades. They traded a pick to Philly. They traded two picks to Philly, 2 picks to Cincy. A couple picks to the Jets. Washington Redskins got a couple of picks, and like I said, this team was all over the place. I don't have enough time to even get into any of those selections. So, but only diehard Minnesota Viking fans know what they did, especially a good friend of mine, NMF, our New York Ranger brother Eric Peterson, who is a Minnesota Viking fan, and I'm sure he was very pleased with all these picks. So, MF. As we started off with you, I'm going to be real honest with you. When it comes to me, the Minnesota Vikings were one of my winners of the draft. Do you agree with that?
Okay. I'm going to say this. Winners, but I'm sorry. I can only give this about a B. Maybe I'll even go as far to say B+. I think they did a good job. I thought their first maybe 5-6 picks were really good, but I really thought they lost it in the 7th round. I thought their final 3 picks, the 220, 232, and the 245 picks, I just did not like. Every other were quality depth picks, and I really loved that they got Dalvin Cook in the 2nd round. I thought that was a larceny steal. Somebody better call the police because they just committed robbery on that one. And how did they pull that off? I will have no idea how they did that. But at the end of the day, yeah. For me, B+ for the Minnesota Vikings. Nothing more to say. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a C. I mean, not a C, a B+ is what I was going to say. So, yeah, I mean, all the picks leading up to the 7th round, I mean, I thought was good, especially Dalvin Cook. I mean, what a steal that turned out to be. And, yeah, and then the 7th round was what really killed them. I mean, if they had made some better picks, maybe it could have been an A, or maybe even an A. Yeah, maybe an A, but because of the 7th round that basically killed them, it's an A+ for me. So Florio, it is yours.
I disagree with you guys. I said it was one of my winners, and I meant it. And I'm going to give you my grade on that in just a minute. Without a first-round pick, the Vikings were put in a tough spot in the draft this year. They still managed to get first-round value in running back Dalvin Cook. I think he could be a star in the NFL, and trading a 4th-round pick to get him was worth it. On the field, he's a playmaker who runs with speed, shiftiness, and enough power. The Vikings needed help on the offensive line, and they got it in Ohio State's Pat Elflein. Whether it's guard or center, he's a starter on the line. He's a tough and instinctive blocker who could become one of the leaders of the team. 4th-round pick Jaleel Johnson is good insurance if there are issues with defensive lineman Sharif Floyd. He's a good run stopper and can split a gap. Inside linebacker Ben Gideon, at worst, is a solid depth addition. He could push for playing time on the weak side and on special teams. 5th-round pick Danny Isadora of Miami provides good depth on the offensive line. 6th-round pick Bucky Hodges was a nice addition as a movable weapon on offense. Solid A for me. They were one of my top winners of the NFL draft this year, hands down. And now we move on. Oh, boy. Get ready, Michael Bullock. It's your team, man. You're a Super Bowl champion, New England Patriots. And here's how they did in the draft. Derek Rivers, outside linebacker, Youngstown State. Antonio Garcia, offensive tackle Troy, Deotric Wise Jr., defensive end Arkansas, and Connor McDermott, offensive tackle from UCLA. The fourth round selection that the Pats obtained from the trade with the New Orleans Saints would have been number 118 overall. However, it will be forfeited as part of the punishment for the Deflategate scandal. They were awarded an additional fifth round compensatory selection, number 183 overall. They gave up a fifth round selection, 163 to Buffalo, when they signed restricted free agent Mike Gillislee to an offer sheet. And as a result of their trades, the Patriots did not use any of their assigned selections and drafted just 4 players, the lowest number in Bill Belichick's 18-year tenure with the New England Patriots. So with all that being said, Michael Bullock, there it is. You got to rub it in with the gear. I know this is becoming old hat for you. I mean, they've been spoiling you these last several years. So, I mean, we talk about you having an Undertaker man cave. I think we should have a New England Patriots man cave for you because of all these things that they keep doing. So, all right, Mr. Super Bowl champ, how did your Super Bowl?
Well, let's just say maybe a man cave for not just like an Undertaker man cave, but a man cave for all my New England sports teams.
Yeah, it's been a city of champions over the last decade or so. So,
well, mainly New England, but then again, you could say everything, of course, about the Bruins, Celtics, and Red Sox as well.
Indeed. So, all right, Mr. Super Bowl champ, let's get your draft grade. How did your championship team do?
All right. Well, there's been a lot of talk about this. I mean, the way people graded the New England Patriots with what they did in the draft. I mean, the thing is, of course, I mean, excuse me, I'm just trying to pull it up here. I mean, the Patriots. I mean, they got Derek Rivers out of Young. They got a couple of defensive ends, and Derek Rivers and Deotric Wise, and then a couple of offensive tackles. So, yeah, when you got a couple of rookie offensive tackles, and you put them with Dante Scarnecchia, yeah, I mean that could definitely mean success for them. But yeah, but we'll just have to wait and see how it all transpires when it comes to that. And when you got defensive guys like Rivers and Wise working with someone like Bill Belichick, he can turn them into something really good here. So to me, this is tough for me to decide. I mean, because some people factor in some of the who they acquired. So I don't know. I'm gonna give this an A- to a B. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, if I got this wrong, I do apologize. But here's another thing I wanna also bring up as well. And when it came to the grades, I was watching this thing called Arbella Early Edition on CSN, and Michael Felger was on there, and guess what he gave for a grade to the Patriots? He gave them an F.
Stupid idiot.
And I'm like sitting there like, are you kidding me? You're giving them an F? To me, I wholeheartedly disagree with him. So Michael Felger, for giving the Patriots an F in the draft. You want to know what happens?
What happened?
When you make a stupid move like that?
What
you want to know what happens, guys?
Michael Felger?
Michael Felger, you just made the list. Enough said. Florio, it's yours.
And let's just say he's not going to be the first stupid idiot muttonhead we're going to be roasting on this draft show tonight. There's a certain one in the state of Pennsylvania, if you know what I mean, who's going to be getting roasted, toasted, and burnt to a crisp when we get to him.
He's been getting roasted big time, especially by our Grand Poobah.
And rightfully so. But we're going to get to him shortly. Despite not having a pick until the third round, the Patriots had a solid draft. Some thought third-round pick Derek Rivers might go in the first round. Patriots needed to get a pass rusher and did so with Rivers. They doubled up on defensive ends by taking Dietrich Wise of Arkansas in the fourth round. He had only 9 starts, but he played in 50 games all along the defensive line. Between the two pass rushers, the Patriots traded up to get offensive tackle Antonio Garcia in the third round. If Nate Solder leaves New England after this season, Garcia is a logical replacement thanks to his quick feet and ability to pick off speed rushers on the edge. New England finished off its draft trading up to get offensive tackle Connor McDermott in the 6th round. McDermott has really good potential. Don't be surprised if he sticks on the roster and gets developed into a starter. Solid B+ for the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. MF, you're great for the Super Bowl champs.
Oh boy. Okay. I will say this: when it comes to New England, okay. I will say this: there's a number of ways this can go. The first 2 picks, Derek Rivers and Antonio Garcia, I liked. I didn't like Wise Jr. or McDermott later, in round 4 and round 6. I thought those were kind of, they kind of were reaches. Plus, there's character issues on Wise. He has maturity issues and the concerns that he might not be able to be coached. Like he's not going to be good enough to deal with coaching. Like he had some issues like that. And of course, we'll wait and see how that plays out. At the end of the day, I'm just going to say this. It's a C for me. Like I said, I like the first 2 picks, but the last 2 kind of evened it out for me. So a solid C. You know what? I'll even be better. C+ for the New England Patriots for me. So, Anthony, let's move on to the next team.
Who dat? The New Orleans Saints are our next team we're going to get into. And let's see what they did in the draft. Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback, Ohio State. Ryan Ramczyk, offensive tackle, Wisconsin. Marcus Williams, free safety out of Utah. Alvin Kamara, running back, Tennessee. Alex Anzalone, outside linebacker, Florida. Trey Hendrickson, defensive end, Florida Atlantic. And Al-Quadin Muhammad, defensive end out of Miami. Saints had one of the best picks of the entire draft, getting cornerback Marshawn Lattimore with the 11th overall pick. Lattimore was rated as a top 5 overall player and fills the biggest need the Saints had on draft weekend. Saints got not only the best cornerback in the draft, but arguably the best offensive tackle in Ryan Ramczyk of Wisconsin. I don't see a lot of need in an offensive tackle for the Saints, but you can't fault the value. In the second round, the Saints got a coverage safety to go with Lattimore and Utah's Marcus Williams. The 3-year starter at Utah is at his best in single high coverage. Normally, I'm not a fan of trading future picks, but that's what the Saints did to get running back Alvin Kamara in the 3rd round. He's got good speed, can be put in the slot. It is a nice foil for starter Mark Ingram. 3rd round pick Alex Anzalone is a solid linebacker who moves well and is a sound tackler. As much as I love the picks of Lattimore, Williams, and Kamara, I thought the Saints needed to find a better pass rusher and a quarterback at some point. The future replacement for Drew Brees will have to come another year. So with that, my grade for the New Orleans Saints, solid B. MF, you're great for the New Orleans Saints.
Former 2184 member Talia, she is a diehard Saints fan. I know, she probably is not going to watch this, but I'm going to tell you, if somebody knows her, they're probably going to notify her very soon what I just did to her New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to say, Anthony, you went B. I'm actually gonna go a little higher. B plus. I really like the Marshawn Lattimore pick. I thought that was an amazing pick. I thought they really hit a home run with that. But there was a couple of they had a few consistent good picks. Um, it was maybe a couple that I kind of felt like, eesh. But I loved the Marcus Williams pick. I loved the Alex Azone pick, and I loved the Trey Hendrickson pick. I thought these are guys that you can fill needs. This was good pickups, and this is what they're gonna need, especially defensively. Here's the weird thing: offensively, they're loaded, they're stout, they're strong, they're amazing. Defensively, major liability. So they really filled their needs with some of the best out there that they got. So I love what they did, no doubt about it. B plus for me. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a B plus as well. I love the pick of Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, they need to fix up their defense, because their defense really wasn't good at all, and they got Marshawn Lattimore. Yeah, so basically, the fleet-footed cover man is as talented as they come, but must overcome some durability concerns to reach his potential. Marcus Williams, I thought it was a good pick too. He gives the team a natural center fielder to pair with Von Bell in the back end. Anzalone and Hendrickson will compete for playing time as rotational players on the second level. On offense, Ramczyk should be a day one starter at right tackle to shore up the protection around Drew Brees. Kamara is a Reggie Bush-like playmaker with a well-rounded game that should add some juice to the Saints' attack. So it's a B plus for me. They could have added a quarterback, but via the draft. But basically, I like what they did here. So B plus for me. So Wario, let's move on.
And our next team, the first of our two New York teams, the New York Giants, Big Blue. Let's see who they selected. Evan Engram, tight end, Ole Miss. Dalvin Tomlinson, defensive tackle, Alabama. Davis Webb, quarterback out of California. Wayne Gallman, running back, Clemson. Avery Moss, defensive end, Youngstown State. Adam Bisnawadi, offensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. Original fourth-round selection was moved to the back of the fourth round after all of the compensatory selections, but no more than 12 picks after where their pick would have been positioned as part of the punishment for illegal use of a walkie-talkie on their sideline during Week 14 of last season. So, MF, we started off with MF here. So, MF, how did the G-Men do in this year's draft?
Oh, I'm gonna say, man, they nailed it. They did a very good job. I loved every pick they did. No bad picks at all. I'm gonna do it, man. This is between an A minus to a B plus. They had they checked off everything they needed to do, and they made sense with every pick. There wasn't one bad pick that I thought that there was. There was some guys that needs development. There's some guys that needs some seasoning. But every pick they did was value picks, good for where they got them, and they were hits on every single one of them. From the Evan Engram to the Devon Tomlinson to Davis. The Davis Webb, who's probably going to be who's going to now become maybe the heir apparent to Eli Manning, to Wayne Gallman from the running back from the national champion Clemson Tigers, which I loved. I think he could be a starter someday. So no, for me, A minus to B plus, they nailed it. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I agree. It's an A- for me. I thought the Giants, they had a really good draft here with I mean, I like everything they did. I mean, getting Evan Ingram, the tight end from from Mississippi. He's a Jordan Reed like playmaker, capable of playing Y or H in their scheme. He's the most polished route runner among the tight ends of the 2017 draft class. Getting Davis Webb from Cal. Webb is a quick rhythm passer, ideally suited for playing in the Giants' small ball scheme. Tomlinson is a space eater with outstanding strength, power, and hand skills. He plays with leverage and fills the void as a solid run stopper. So, yeah, so basically it's an A- for me. So, Florio, it is yours.
B- for me. I wasn't a big fan of the Giants taking Ole Miss tight end Evan Engram in the first round. He gives the Giants more production from the position, which they need, but I viewed him as a second-round guy. Second-round pick, Dalvin Tomlinson, also filled the need on the defensive line, but I thought number 55 was somewhat early for him as well. After that, I loved what the Giants did in the draft. They were aggressive, finding the successor to Eli Manning and Davis Webb in the third round. There was some thought Webb would go much higher, so to get him at number 87 was smart. Wayne Gallman is a good power running back who could split carries with Paul Perkins. He doesn't have a lot of flash, but he's hard to bring down and rarely has bad plays. I like the pick of N. Avery Moss, who fills a need as a system-fit pass rusher. New York's last pick, offensive tackle Adam Bisnawadi, is going to stick as good depth at least. So it's a B- for me when it comes to the G-men. So now we move on to the other New York team, the Jets. Gang Green. Let's see what they did with their draft picks. You thought Minnesota was busy. They were just as busy. But here are their draft picks. Jamal Adams, safety, LSU. Marcus May, safety, Florida. Ardarius Stewart, wide receiver, Alabama. Chad Hansen, wide receiver, California. Jordan Leggett, tight end from the champion Clemson Tigers. Dylan Donahue, defensive end, West Georgia. Elijah McGuire, running back, Louisiana Lafayette. Jeremy Clark, cornerback, Michigan. And Derek Jones, cornerback out of Ole Miss. They made several trades. They made a trade to Minnesota, Tampa. Tampa got a couple of trade picks. Minnesota got a trade pick. Washington, Minnesota, Dallas, Cleveland. They had a very busy draft. And as a result of a negative differential of free agent signings and departures that the Jets experienced during the 2016 free agency period, the team received a third-round compensatory selection in this draft, and they traded their 2017 fourth-round selection to Washington to trade up for Brandon Shell in the 2016 draft. So that's it for that. So let's see. I know Bullock led off on New England, and then I took New Orleans. Fletcher took the Giants, so it's Bullock. So Michael Bullock, we start with you. Your draft grade for the New York Jets.
Okay. Yeah. When it comes to the Jets, I mean, I like the getting safety Jamal Adams because obviously, who knows? I mean, I heard something about Calvin Pryor getting released, which I think he did. I'm not quite sure, but they need to add some. But the thing is, I think they could. I mean, they did add some things at the offensive position, but the thing is, I think they could have. The one thing I think they could have improved upon was the offensive line, because I mean that was one of the reasons why they struggled. And another thing they could have done was get a quarterback because I mean that's the one thing I really think they could have improved upon in the on the draft. I mean, not just with the offensive linemen, but also the quarterbacks as well. So to me, it's a C-. Florio, it's yours.
C minus, did you say, Bullet?
Yeah.
Okay. Slight disagreement. C plus is my draft grade. They fixed their safety unit in this draft by picking Jamal Adams in the first round and Marcus May in the second round. That could spell the end for Calvin Pryor and Marcus Gilchrist in New York. Along with free agent Morris Claiborne, the Jets have put resources into the secondary. The Adams pick was great. I viewed him as a top 3 player in the draft. For me, number 39 was a little early for May. After them, the Jets double up on wide receivers Ardarius Stewart and Chad Hansen. Stewart is a really good athlete, and Hansen has reliable hands. 5th round tight end Jordan Leggett might get more targets than the both of them. He fits perfectly with new offensive coordinator John Morton, who likes to flex tight ends out to create mismatches. So, slight disagreement, Bullock, although I understand where you're coming from. It's a C plus for Gangrene. So, MF, your draft grade for the Jets, Jets.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to meet you boys in the middle. C. Nothing more to say. Let's just move on, and it's time for the Oakland Raiders.
Yes, indeed. The Oakland Raiders. We'll get to. Of course, MF has a couple of friends of his who are Raider fans, and we'll. I'm so sorry I forgot about that friend of yours who likes the Saints. I should have known about that, but we'll address your Raider fan friends in a moment. Here's who they selected: Gary and Conley, cornerback, Ohio State; Obi Molofonwu, safety out of UConn; Eddie Vanderdoes, defensive tackle, UCLA; David Sharp, offensive tackle, Florida; Markel Lee, linebacker, Wake Forest; Shalom Luani, safety out of Washington State; Jillian Ware, offensive tackle, Alabama State; Elijah Hood, running back out of North Carolina; and Trayvon Hester, defensive tackle out of Toledo. The Raiders were another team that came into the draft needing to fix their secondary, and they did so with their first 2 picks. First round pick Gary and Conley surprised many because of his current ongoing legal issue, but if he's in the clear, the placement fits the value. Safety Obi Molofonwu is a classic Raiders pick in that he's a big athlete. Molofonwu has excellent range for a safety and was productive at UConn. After those two, it's hard to see immediate help from this draft class. Defensive lineman Eddie Vanderdoes once had the potential of a first-round pick, but because of injuries and stamina issues, he dropped to the 3rd round. If the Raiders can keep a fire lit under him, he could help the run defense in a big way. Offensive tackle David Sharp, the team's 4th-round pick, is a good fit in the system. And don't forget, just recently, they lured Beast Mode out of retirement. Marshawn Lynch is now going to be wearing the silver and black of the Oakland Raiders. But nonetheless, my draft grade for the Raiders is a B minus. So MF, let's bring you on in. I know you've got 2 friends who are Raider fans. Of course, you told me about one of them, Mr. Ed Williams, who is a huge Raider fan, as well as another gal. There's another gal that I see you tag on your Facebook, Jen Pike. So how are Ed and Jen feeling about the Raider picks?
Well, I'll say this. Actually, Jen Pike is actually they're married, so that's a couple. But no, it's my boy Ed. My boy Ed is definitely the Oakland Raider, well, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders. Please note that. I'm going to be with you, Anthony. I actually like the first 2 picks, like you did as well. And then after that, there was some solid picks there. B minus is the correct rating. I will give them that. There was a lot of B picks here. There was one that I really didn't like, which was in the 7th round, 221, Shalom Luani from Washington State. It's the only one I kind of didn't really like out of the draft class, but everybody else was pretty solid. So, yes, I'll give it a B minus for the Raiders, and that sets us up with Michael Bullock.
Yeah, B minus for me when it comes to the Oakland Raiders. I mean, I do like some of the picks they made here, but the thing, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So, Florio, it's yours.
All right. Now it's time for something that I know Derek Ferreira has been waiting all night for. there's a certain gentleman on YouTube that goes by the name of EDP 445 because it's his team next, the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll get to Mr. EDP 445 in just a moment. Let's get to the picks first of all. Derek Barnett, defensive end, Tennessee. Sidney Jones, cornerback, Washington. Rasul Douglas, cornerback, West Virginia. Mac Hollins, wide receiver, North Carolina. Donnell Pumphrey, running back, San Diego State. Shelton Gibson, wide receiver, West Virginia. Nathan Gary, linebacker, Nebraska. And Elijah Qualls, defensive tackle, Washington. They traded their original first-round selection, number 12, along with their first, third, and fourth-round picks in 2016, as well as a 2018 second-round pick to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for the Browns' 2016 first-round selection and the Browns' fourth-round compensatory selection, 139. They acquired an additional first-round pick along with a 2018 fourth-round pick in a trade that sent quarterback Sam Bradford to the Minnesota Vikings, and they traded their third-round selection, number 74, to the Baltimore Ravens for defensive tackle Timmy Jernigan and one of the Ravens' third-round selections, number 99 overall. Now, this EDP 445 cat that I've seen on YouTube has gone on these ridiculously unnecessary, profanity-laced tirade rants. He ranted about Derek Barnett. I think he was actually happy about Donnell Pumphrey. And then there was another move with Smallwood or something like that. But Derek Ferreira has been a major, has absolutely lambasted this guy, and rightfully so, because a lot of these rants that he's gone on has been a trifle unnecessary. And so with all that being said, MF, we started off with you. Your thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles, and if you want to, give a quick thought.
I'm not going to waste. No. I'm not wasting my time on an idiot.
I agree.
Wasting our time and our space for a freaking moron who doesn't know squat about football. I think Derek Ferreira nailed him when he said that this guy had no idea that he knows college football. Derek Barnett is the best pass rusher in the draft, and I rated that as an A grade for Derek Barnett. Just Derek Barnett alone. He was an A grade. Now, Donnell Pumphrey, the one that he was hyping about, though he was undersized because he's at 5'8", at 178 pounds, he finished the career with the all-time rushing leader in FBS history with 6,400 yards. He is, and I'll even give EDP 445 his credit. He is going to be another Darren Sproles type player. He is explosive. You can utilize him outside as a receiver, a running back. He's that X factor. He's a flash guy. He is a great pickup, and I will tip my cap to him about that pick. I think that was a great pick for Philadelphia, and it was a steal, and no doubt about it. He for that one moment, he is right. But for me, Philadelphia did a very good job in the draft. I thought their picks were good. I didn't think there was really any bad picks, to say the very least. Now, there was one, Nathan Gary kind of got himself in trouble. There are some off-the-field issues, and he got himself suspended on 2 occasions for academic reasons in Nebraska. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna give this a solid B. I think this was, a B to B plus level, because I thought Philadelphia did a very good job. Now, I'm gonna say this: Derek Barnett is a major steal, and he is a great player. And for people who never saw him, and obviously this guy never saw him, take a look at the tape when Tennessee played against Florida, and then come back to me to see that. Because let me tell you, this guy flashed off my screen when I saw him, and I was like, damn. So I'm not going to go into no profanities-laced rant because I'm not in the mood for it, and it's pretty late at night, and I don't want to get myself or Anthony Florio in trouble with the YouTube people. But at the end of the day, Eric Ferreira is doing what's fair because he needs to call out and put this guy on blast. And there's been quite a few people that's putting this gentleman on blast, calling him not a real fan. You know, that he's not even from the Philadelphia area. He's from California. And yes, there are people who are not from, you know, the home city of certain teams. Anthony is from Rhode Island, but he's loyal to the Buffalo Bills. I'm from Rhode Island, but I'm loyal to the Miami Dolphins. But we're real fans because we do our homework. We actually know what we're talking about. We actually put our blood, our sweat, and our tears in the work we do to know about these players, to know about college football, because we actually spend Friday nights, Thursday nights doing these games for college football Thursday, watching the games on Saturday, on Thursday, whenever, to see our teams play. So for me, at the end of the day, that's what's the difference between us and him. Michael
And we
Bullock, it's all yours, my
And we
friend.
support our teams.
Exactly.
Unlike this Hammenager jabroni who always trashes his team every time and just gives up on them. That's what I call a phony fan. And that's what you are, Mr. EDP445. You are a phony. You are a fake. And and Florio, and for this rant, can I have permission for the PG rating to be waived off for this one time?
Let this stupid idiot Muttonhead have it.
Yeah, you EDP445 are a fucking scrub, and you don't know shit about football or any sport for that matter. So I don't see how you can. I mean, people like me, I support my team even when we do lose. Florio, he supports his Buffalo Bills. Do you see him complaining about it? Hell no. Whenever they lose, he sticks by them even in the bad times. Michael Fletcher with his Miami Dolphins. He supports them even when they're going through some tough times. But you like to go on these tirades every single time. And when you went off on this Derek Barnett guy, who I thought was a steal, and for you to say that he fucking sucks, he doesn't suck. You want to know who fucking sucks? You do, EDP445. I don't, and like some of the other YouTube people have said, you are a walking abomination, and you are not a nice guy, and you are a fucking loser. And guys, you want to know what happens when there are phony and fake fans like him?
What happens?
Florio, you want to know what happens?
What happens?
EDP445, you just made the list. So I'm done with you. I'm finished with you. Get the fuck out of my life. And in the immoral words of fucking Ren and Stimpy, you fucking idiot. I'm done. I'm finished. Be for me on the Eagles. If I offended anybody, I do apologize, but that's just something I just wanted to get off my chest because I am so sick and tired of his profanity-laced tirades he goes on week after week after week. And I even saw one video where he used the R word, and that literally pissed me off. Done, finished. Florio, it's yours.
And this is also the same guy who defended Joe Mixon and the whole domestic violence thing. Yeah.
That made me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, that did it for me. So
And he supports domestic violence.
horrible.
I mean,
Absolutely horrible.
I'm sick and that makes me sick to my stomach. I mean, as a man who has a girlfriend, and the gentleman that I am would never do something like that, and would never support domestic violence.
Same here. Same here, Bullock. Same here. For me, if the day ever comes where I get a girlfriend and MF and same
And I
time
hope he
too,
rots in hell.
yeah. Well, let's put that mutton head aside, and my grade is a B minus for Philly. One of the most obvious needs for any team in this year's draft was the Eagles' need for a cornerback. The Eagles waited to target the position, taking defensive end Derek Barnett in the first round. It was something of a surprise to see him available with the 14th pick. He'll help the team's rush up front. The Eagles waited until the second day to get corners Sidney Jones in the second round and Rasul Douglas in the third round. Had Jones been healthy, he would have been a first-round pick. Douglas is a good physical cornerback with measurables. Matt Hollins in the fourth round was a sound choice. The third day of the draft can be about finding special teams help, and Hollins is an ace specialist. Running back Donnell Pumphrey could move to wide receiver where he can take advantage of his agility in space. So it's a B minus for me. Let's just move on here. The other Pennsylvania team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and here are their picks. T.J. Watt, linebacker, Wisconsin, the younger brother of J.J. Watt. Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver, USC. Cameron Sutton, cornerback, Tennessee. James Conner, running back, Pittsburgh. Joshua Dobbs, quarterback, Tennessee. Brian Allen, cornerback, Utah. Colin Holba, LS out of Louisville. And Keon Adams, linebacker, long snapper. He's a long snapper. Colin Holba, long snapper from Louisville. And Keon Adams, linebacker, Western Michigan. As the result of a negative differential of the free agent signings and departures that the Steelers experienced during the free agency period, they received one compensatory selection at the end of the third round for this NFL draft. So, Michael Bullock, let's get right to you, Pittsburgh Steelers, and let's try to go a little somewhat rapid fire here.
Yeah, and try to be more calmer after that rant I went on. So yeah, and as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers go, to me, excuse me, I'm gonna give this a B. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I like them getting T.J. Watt from Wisconsin to booster up to the defense, and Juju Smith-Schuster when it comes to the wide receiver position, because you could always use some depth there, especially when you got Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant here. But I mean, other than that, I mean, I'm just gonna say B. Flory, what's yours?
I believe I have a B minus here. Let me just make sure on that. Yes, B minus. Pittsburgh's big need in the draft was getting an outside linebacker, and that's what they got in T.J. Watt of Wisconsin. Solid outside pass rusher who could come up and stop the run. With James Harrison nearing retirement, Watt can be his understudy while also stealing some snaps on rundowns. There were moments at USC where second-round pick Juju Smith-Schuster looked like a first-round pick. Physical pass catcher who was a little bit like Anquan Bolden after the catch. The issue with the pick is how many targets Smith-Schuster might see in a packed wide receiver group in Pittsburgh. Cornerback Cameron Sutton has some potential as a third-round pick. He doesn't have great speed or athleticism, but he has good instincts. Fourth-round pick Josh Dobbs will get a shot at some point to succeed Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback. At the least, he could be an improvement at backup quarterback. B minus for the Pittsburgh Steelers. MF, you're great for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I agree. B minus is my grade as well. Let me see if it is B minus or if it's something higher. Yeah, B minus for me as well. Nothing more to say. Let's move on to the next team.
And we got 5 teams left. Next up, San Francisco 49ers. No team was more busier in this draft than they were. Oh my goodness. Look at all the moves that this team made during the draft. They had the number 2 pick and they traded it to Chicago. So here are the guys they did pick, though. Solomon Thomas, defensive end, Stanford. Reuben Foster, linebacker, Alabama. Akello Weatherspoon, cornerback, Colorado. C.J. Beathard, quarterback out of Iowa. Joe Williams, running back, Utah. George Kittle, tight end, Iowa. Trent Taylor, wide receiver, Louisiana Tech. DJ Jones, defensive tackle, Ole Miss. Pitta Tamupinu, defensive end, Utah. And Adrian Colbert, cornerback out of Miami, Florida Hurricanes, the U. They traded several picks to Chicago, Seattle, New Orleans, Minnesota, Indianapolis, Baltimore, and Washington. We don't have enough time to cover all of those moves, but I can give you a grade. It's a B- for me. First year general manager John Lynch had a notable first draft for the 49ers. He fleeced the Bears to move down a pick and still get the player he wanted in defensive lineman Solomon Thomas. Move was crafty, and the Niners got a player who can use power and quickness to get into the backfield. Lynch then packaged his second-round pick and a fourth-round pick to move back into the first round to get free-falling linebacker Reuben Foster. Alabama stud should develop into the leader on San Francisco's defense. Third-round pick Akello Weatherspoon has some good physical skills in his game and has good growth potential. A little spotty right now, but his size and skill combination is too intriguing. Fellow third-round pick C.J. Beathard was a shock pick at number 104. He's a player head coach Kyle Shanahan wanted, but it came much higher than most expected for the Iowa quarterback. Fifth-round pick George Kittle could push for playing time early at tight end. This team needed a higher caliber quarterback at some point and a more dynamic receiver. B- for the San Francisco 49ers. MF go.
I'm with you on that. B- as well. We'll let go.
Yeah, it's a B- for me as well. So I say let's just go to our next team, Florio.
We're down to the final four, guys. Next up is, we're staying in the West with the Seattle Seahawks. And let's see who they selected with their picks. No first-round selections, but they selected Malik McDowell, defensive tackle, Michigan State. Ethan Pocic, center out of LSU. Shaquille Griffin, cornerback, Central Florida. Delano Hill, safety out of Michigan. Nazir Jones, defensive tackle out of North Carolina, compensatory pick, as well as Amara Darboh, wide receiver out of Michigan. Both of those were compensatory picks. Tedrick Thompson, safety out of Colorado. Mike Tyson, not to be confused with the boxer Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, safety out of Cincinnati. Justin Senior, offensive tackle, Mississippi State. David Moore, wide receiver out of East Central. And Chris Carson, a running back out of Oklahoma State. Another busy team in the draft. I don't have enough time to cover their moves. So, MF, your grade for the Seattle Seahawks.
Solid B. I liked what they were doing, especially the Malik McDowell. I thought that was a tremendous pick. Then, of course, the Amir Darboh was a great pick as well. The only fishy calls that they did was especially towards the end, getting Mike Tyson, Justin Senior, David Moore, and Chris Carson. I really did not like those picks at all. But for me, once you weigh the good out of the bad, give it a solid B for the Seattle Seabags. So, Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Solid B for me when it comes to the Seahawks. So, Florio, it's yours.
Theme of the draft, another B-. They traded Seahawks traded out of the first round of the draft and ended with a large class of 11 players. Began with defensive lineman Malik McDowell, whose biggest knock was his inconsistent effort. But if there's some team that can get the most out of him, it's Seattle. He has top 10 ability because of his size, athleticism, and ability to play all along the defensive line. Offensive lineman Ethan Pocic is a perfect system fit in Seattle, where he'll remind Seahawks fans of Max Unger. He's incredibly smart and athletic for a blocker. Of the team's 4 third-round picks, I like defensive tackle Nazir Jones of North Carolina and Amara Darboh the most. Jones, like McDowell, has great potential. Darboh runs good routes and has nice hands. 4th-round pick Tedrick Thompson was an interesting selection. He should provide really good depth for the Seahawks. Seahawks could have 2 other safeties, Delano Hill in the 3rd round and Mike Tyson in the 6th. And that should tell you they're looking for the future. They're looking to the future in the secondary. Seahawks did not take an offensive tackle until the 6th round with Justin Senior of Mississippi State. If there's a flaw in this class, that's the one that stands out first. So B- for the Seattle Seahawks. Next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 3 teams left. Here are their picks. O.J. Howard, tight end, Alabama. Justin Evans, safety, Texas A&M. Chris Godwin, wide receiver, Penn State. Kendall Beckwith, linebacker, LSU. Jeremy McNichols, running back, Boise State, and Stevie Kolovatu, defensive tackle out of USC. I believe it's Bullock who starts it off. So Bullock, a quick grade for Tampa Bay.
It's a B for me. I mean, especially after getting O.J. Howard with their first pick, and especially now you got someone who can rely on, especially if defensive coordinators are going to take away Mike Evans and Sean Jackson, and on defense with, of course, getting Justin Evans, I should say. So, so there's really nothing more to say. So B for me. Florida, what's yours?
C plus for me. Draft for the Buccaneers was about finding help for Jameis Winston. They did that in the first round, getting an absolute steal and tight end O.J. Howard with the 19th pick. He should see a lot of passes thrown his way in Tampa Bay. They got another target for Winston and wide receiver Chris Godwin. Like Mike Evans, he's a wide receiver you can throw it up high to, and he can come down with it. Between the two pass catchers, the Buccaneers got safety Justin Evans. He plays a lot like Tanar Jackson did. Hopefully Evans can stick around a little longer. I thought pick number 50 was a bit too high for him. Running back Jeremy McNichols was a great pickup in the 5th round. He could get some carries while Doug Martin is suspended, and he has the talent to keep them. So it's a C plus for me for Tampa Bay. MF, you're great for Tampa.
I disagree with your C plus. I'm giving it a B plus. I really like the draft that they did. Basically, almost every player I have here has either an A or B grade that I got. There was one player that ranked at the C level, which was their last player from Southern Cal. Other than that, they got B plus almost across the board for me. So yes, I love their draft. I thought they did a very good job. Nothing more to say. It's on to Tennessee.
Tennessee Titans are next, and here are their picks. Corey Davis, wide receiver, Western Michigan. Adoree Jackson, cornerback, USC. Taywan Taylor, wide receiver, Western Kentucky. Jonnu Smith, compensatory pick, tight end out of FIU. Jayon Brown, inside linebacker, UCLA. Corey Levine, offensive guard, Chattanooga, another compensatory pick. Josh Caraway, outside linebacker, TCU. Brad Seaton, offensive tackle, Villanova. And Khalfani Mohammed, running back out of California. And I believe I start this one off. So it's a B minus for me. Everyone, the media, fans, and other teams knew the Titans were going to come out of the first round of the draft with a cornerback and wide receiver if they kept the picks. They did, but the order in which they took them was surprising. Taking wide receiver Corey Davis at number 5 overall seemed early, but it may have been smart considering 2 other wideouts went in the top 10, and he may not have been around at number 18. With that pick, the Titans drafted cornerback Adoree Jackson. I might have preferred a cornerback like Tre'Davious White over him, but teams like Jackson more than draft analysis. The Titans got more receiving threats in the 3rd round with Taywan Taylor and Jonnu Smith. Taylor can be an excellent player out of the slot. He's a movable tight end, and Smith is a movable tight end who will be lined up all around the field. If the goal was to get weapons for Marcus Mariota, then mission accomplished. Tennessee also needed depth on the offensive line and found it with Corey Levine and Brad Seaton late in the draft. B minus Tennessee Titans. MF go.
I actually will disagree with you. I'm going to give it another B plus. I thought they did a very good job. Again, a lot of the players that was graded, I actually put on a grade of a B. Now there was a couple of players that were C level, Juwan Smith and Josh Caraway. They all got C levels, and then Brad Seaton got a C as well. But again, more good than bad. So B plus for the Tennessee Titans. And Michael Bullock, is yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna say B plus as well. So nothing else to say. Let's just move on.
We are on our 32nd and final team of the night, the Washington Redskins. All hail the Redskins, and let's see who they selected. Jonathan Allen, defensive end, Alabama. Ryan Anderson, linebacker, Alabama. Fabian Moreau, cornerback, UCLA. Samaje Perine, running back, Oklahoma. Monte Nicholson, safety out of Washington. Jeremy Sprinkle, tight end, Arkansas. Chase Roulier, center, Wyoming; Robert Davis, wide receiver, Georgia State; Josh Harvey Clemens, safety out of Louisville; and Joshua Holsey, cornerback out of Auburn. They swapped first-round picks in 2016 with Houston and acquired a second sixth-round pick, number 209, this year. They also traded their fourth-round pick in 2016 to New Orleans and received a fifth-round pick in 2016 and fifth-round pick this year, number 154. And lastly, they swapped their fifth-round pick from 2016 for the fourth-round pick, number 114, this year from the New York Jets. MF, final grade of the night, the Washington Redskins. How about it?
A- for the Washington Redskins. The reason why Jonathan Allen, he's a top 5 pick. He fell to number 17, fell right to their laps. That was grand larceny, man. If you're the Redskins, you're not saying a word, while the rest of the league is probably saying, "Oh no, did we just let one get away?" Ryan Anderson, a nice B-level player. Fatavius Matu, B-level player. Samarji P. Ryan, come on. We've seen this. Anthony, you and I know about Samarji P. Ryan from Oklahoma. This guy was a beast. And, now that this depth in that running back position, I loved it. For me, A- across the board for me. Washington was one of the winners of the draft. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A- as well. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So Florio, it's yours.
We make it unanimous. It's an A-. Washington is another team that got one of the biggest steals in the entire draft with first-round pick Jonathan Allen. If he stays healthy, I love the pick. He was my second overall selection and will help Washington's pass rush and run defense. In the second round, Washington went for another Alabama front seven player and linebacker, Ryan Anderson. He can play inside and outside with his ability to use power and leverage. The team needed a cornerback and found one with first-round talent in UCLA's Fabian Moro of UCLA. He dropped because of health, but he's a high-end number 2 cornerback for Washington. The pick of running back Samaje Perine in the fourth round was one of the best on the third day of the draft. He could take over as Washington's lead running back. Washington also smartly brought in 2 more safeties in Monte Nicholson and Josh Harvey Clemens. It might be overloading the position, but Harvey Clemens in particular brings something a little different. A- is the grade. And gentlemen, at long last, we are done. The 2017 NFL Draft Recap edition of Strictly Sports is in the books. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We're going to do our shout outs. Whoever wants it first, just go.
I'll take it first. Of course, shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to support our shows, whether it's this or Ridiculously Raw or the Cerebral Smack Talk. Of course, we thank you all so very much for tuning in tonight. And of course, shout outs to, of course, our first lady of the wrestling forum, Dee Dee Woodson, and to the rest of the Woodson family. Hopefully everything is going good with them. And of course, to our other super fans, Matt Ward and Jason Hicksama. And of course, shout out to all of our friends from our high school days. You guys know who you are. Of course, to our news personalities from 6, 10, and 12. And our, of course, personalities from Fox Sports and ESPN, NFL Network, MLB Network, NBA TV, NHL Network, NBC, and the rest of that, and the rest of them there. And of course, our friends from the Road Show, of course, former co-hosts Mary Larson and Megan Mooney, and of course, the current people, of course, Brendan Kirby, Will Gilbert, and Michaela Johnson. So yeah, that basically, so I think, so that's pretty much going to do it for me. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, this is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up, talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up 4-4 style. Bye for now, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. So, Fletch, it's yours.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you to all the great fans out there. You guys are the best fans in the world. I'm going to give you a little heads up. I know you guys are wondering when are we going to do the next Ranger Roundup. Sunday night, 10:30 Eastern. On my channel, BravesFan95, we're going to recap Game 5. The reason why is tomorrow, other than my work commitments, which I do have, I'm actually heading down to Snookers. It's a pool place down because tomorrow night, myself and Alex Zapato, we are going to be witnessing Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a mega fight, Cinco de Mayo weekend, and this is the biggest fight night we've gonna had in a long time. Of course, everybody knows last week was a mega fight in London. This one's going to go down at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I'm going to be down there tomorrow night. That's why the Ranger Roundup has been moved, because it was supposed to be for Saturday. It's been moved to Sunday night, 10:30 Eastern on the Braves Fan 95. So I'll see you guys then. And you know the routine. Shout outs to the super fans. Shout out to my friends in junior high and high school days. Shout outs to the 2184 crew. Hugs and hand pounds, y'all. Good night. Anthony, take it home.
Yeah, we'll do, and that, of course. Special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. Best fans in the world. Extra special shout out to Dee Dee Woodson. She's been through so much this week with the family emergency, and we hope all is well. And we're praying that the young lady gets better, and hopefully we'll have Dee Dee back with us next week. But if not, like I said, Dee Dee, take all the time you need and come back whenever you're ready. The shows are in good hands because you got me, you got MF, you got Bullock. That's all there is to it. So we got it all under control. So shout out to you and the family. Hope all is well. Praying all is well. Our other super fans, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonbaugh, Dan Luttrell from the UK. Our first ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway. Our crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Al Bradison, and Rob Parsons. And, of course, the man himself, Derek Ferreira, who puts it all together. We're nothing without him. That's all there is to it. All of our personalities from 6, 10, and 12. Our friends from ESPN, Fox Sports 1, MLB Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, NFL Network, the whole 9 yards. Julie Alexandria, Chantel McKay from the Golf Channel, Lindsay McCormick, Stata Sorrell. Can't forget about them. Our friends from The Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, Michaela Johnson, and former co-host Megan Mooney, Mary Larson. And last but not least, my church family at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning at 9, Bible study, 10 a.m. or shortly after will be the Sunday service. And then Wednesday nights at 7, another Bible study and some other things going on. Always a blessing being with them. And I look forward to seeing them on Sunday as always. And that's it. So like MF said, Sunday night, 10:30, we'll have the Ranger. It'll be a belated edition of the Ranger Roundup as we recap that pivotal Game 5 with the New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators. My Lord, is that going to be a sight to see this afternoon? And I can't wait to get into that. And then from there, Monday night we got Ridiculously Raw, right back here on the Tone 25. We'll recap Monday Night Raw, and I'll have my Tony's take on 205 Live and Impact Wrestling. And then, of course, on Tuesday, we're going to have, it's going to be another Ranger Roundup because Game 6, there's going to be a Game 6 in Madison Square Garden. That will be on Tuesday night. And we're going to incorporate both the Ranger Roundup and the MF show, the Cerebral Smack Talk. We'll review SmackDown Live, and maybe there'll be a Mikey's Mindset. Maybe there won't be. I don't know. Time to be determined by MF. We'll see what the time is for that on Tuesday. And then if there's a Game 7 between the Rangers and the Senators, that will be on Thursday night, and we'll have that Ranger Roundup for you. Should there be a Game 7, we'll see what happens. But keep an eye out. We'll let you know if there will be a Ranger Roundup on Thursday. And then next Friday night, another edition of Strictly Sports. We'll probably have the Major League Baseball power rankings back. We'll probably talk about that boxing stuff, those 2 mega fights, the Klitschko fight, as well as the Canelo, Alvarez, and Chavez fight. I'm sure MF will get a chance to recap both of those fights and whatever other news there is in the world of sports. We'll have that for you next Friday night. Derek should have the docket up either Sunday or Monday. And that's it. So until Sunday night for the belated edition of the Ranger Roundup with myself and MF on his channel, Braves Fan 95. It's Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF Michael Fletcher, for the Phenom Michael Bullock, in his spirit, the Twisted Angel and First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, D.D. Woodson, and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Have a blessed weekend. Be good to each other. And until Sunday night for that belated Ranger Roundup, you've been watching the 2017 NFL Draft Recap Edition of Strictly Sports right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com. For now, Anthony Florio. So long.